This is the One Piece Podcast, episode 805 for the week of Monday, February 12th, 2024. My name is Zach, and joining me, our anime recap host, Sam Leach, is with us. How's it going, Sam?
You're lucky you pried me away from my Persona 3.
I tried. It took a lot of prying. And we also have...
You got there.
Yeah, I did. I think the thing that really got you out of that, though, was our guest today, animator at Toei Animation, Henry Thurlow, joins us once again. How's it going, Henry?
Hi, guys. It's going good. You always catch me on Monday mornings in Japan, though, so I'm always like a little bit more like out of it and tired than I would be in an evening.
That's how we get the truth out. We
Yeah.
just make you... It's just Monday mornings, just get it out of everyone.
Yeah.
How have you been since we had you once since your big episode, I think.
Yeah, you probably had me on for the what is it?
The
Ryokugyu.
Yeah.
I was going to say
Ryokugyu
Ryonosuke,
stuff.
which is a very different character. Yeah.
I've been doing, not easy work, but not big giant things ever since 1066. So I did like a 30 seconds on Ryokugyu a couple times. And then since then, on the very last episode of last year, I did like Kurohige, Blackbeard and Rayleigh looking at each other. It was just super short segment, just a couple sequences. But like I've been on the anime, but nothing big. But then this is my kind of first quite big segment since 1066, I guess.
Yeah, and it shows. It's I knew immediately that's Henry's segment.
Cool.
When I saw that, if any segment in this episode is Henry's, it's that one.
Well, I'll go into it when we talk, but I was shockingly uncorrected this time. There was a few little sketches here and there, and then the chief animation directors come in and fix a face or two for you, but it's like 2 minutes of almost nonstop zero corrections on me. So I just like all the ice and stuff that we'll get into, like that's all just like, okay, just Henry, do it. Like we won't even correct anything, literally nothing. So part of me isn't surprised that you could tell it was me right away, but on the other hand, like I think that's really cool.
It's not a bad thing at all.
Yeah.
It's just like I figured, because I'll get to my reasoning
Okay.
when we get there. I will say, as someone in very much the opposite industry as you, getting no corrections on something is the scariest fucking thing ever. At least for me.
It can
but
be.
Yeah, it's validating.
Well,
it's
you
both.
know what? That is that's very objective. That would be on a person by person basis. And even for me, to be honest, there were some sequences I was like, I'm looking for, like, I'm not really confident about this one. There's even one in particular in my mind, I guess I won't say, like, to show my weakness or whatever, but like there was one where I was like, this isn't very good, to be honest. Like, I'm gonna really appreciate the animation director's corrections on this, and they'll save me, and I'll feel more comfortable doing the cleanup after they fix some stuff. And then I got it back, and there was no cleanups, and I was like, oh man. So I do understand what you're saying. I guess I'm a type where more often than not I like it uncorrected, but I do get what you're saying. It's a case by case.
I think it's different also when it's your own creative output. I'm sure it's a different versus me writing things for other people. It's not. Mm-hmm. Anyway, today's like the insiders edition of the One Piece podcast. We have Henry here from Toei, and then we have Greg and Steven's segment a little bit later. Greg was a series advisor in the live action and works at Shueisha, and Steven is the official translator for One Piece and Shonen Jump and Manga Plus. So enjoy their segment after, and I'm sure both segments will be they're usually pretty lengthy, and that's what people come here for. So without further ado, let's get into the anime recap with Sam.
This is the anime recap for episode 1093, The Winner Takes All, Law versus Blackbeard. I'm your host, Sam, and today with me we have some guy named Zach, I suppose.
Some guy, I see. Let me write that down for later, so I could penalize you on not knowing my full title. No, thank you for having me, Sam.
And joining us once again, we have One Piece's own Henry Thurlow.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Yes, the customary bring Henry on to talk about the Henry episode. Although this is as great as your scene is, there's a lot going on in this episode.
Well, funny enough, I don't even animate any of the whole main point of this episode. Like everyone will realistically remember the episode as the big, as you said with the title, Law versus Blackbeard episode. And so normally you'd think, well, of course, Henry did part of the big Law versus Blackbeard fight, but I actually didn't. I stayed 100% away from it this time. So, yeah, no, there's the whole point of the episode with all the great animators that did that, completely aside from what I did this time.
You snuck your way into a Law episode without somehow doing the Law.
Yeah.
Because this is really like not a sequel episode to 1066, I think, but it definitely feels like at least animation wise.
You're not wrong about that. It depends on who the main character was, right? I mean, obviously the main character of One Piece is Luffy, so we're following the Straw Hat crew. So for us, the sequel of Wano was, we go to Egghead and see what's happening there. But, there's so many like main character level likable characters in One Piece. If you consider Law the main character, and who knows, maybe someday there's a spin-off series or something that just like follows him or something like that. If he was the main character, this very much would be the continuation of Wano. We would see him going off the Wano cliff, right? The waterfall again, Monday morning, forgetting the word waterfall.
It's both a cliff and a waterfall.
Yeah. So he goes off the waterfall, and then there might have been an episode or two of him sailing with his crew. Like, where are we going? Let's look at the map. Let's have some conversations. Just like Luffy did, with like the Luffy's Dream episode. I'm sure that Law's crew had their own conversations. And then very shortly afterwards, what is this? Blackbeard's right in front of him. So yeah, it is the continuation of Law's storyline for sure.
He had some bad luck.
And it is the continuation of last week's cliffhanger, where Law and Blackbeard are staring each other down, and we got kind of the whole rogues gallery and the little title cards giving us a tease of the Blackbeard Pirates Devil Fruits, which last week was mostly we're just hearing them by name for the most part, but now we get to see some of it in action. So we open this episode on a certain sea area in the New World, and it's we're in media res. The fighting has already started. The polar tang is swimming through the ocean and dodging bomb apples. We know Duck Q to be the one who specializes in apple-shaped bombs, I suppose, or whatever they actually are. If
they probably
put
the
poisoned
explosives
apples
in the apples. Yeah, we'll get to that later.
And Blackbeard, not letting the Heart Pirates have any breathing room. He's just creating a big earthquake to cut out a big hole in the ocean. And all hands on deck in the submarine. Law is given instructions. The camera is being very coy. Law is kind of like hunched over. He seems sick. He seems coughing. We don't take a good look at him.
I'll just say the camera being coy does not last very long after this. The camera is very much not coy for the
my exact next line in my notes is he turns around and the audience gets to see that he's been turned into a woman. And the voice actor has been he's definitely been pitched up
Is that what it was? I was trying to figure it out.
But there's a few lines where I'm wondering if he's putting on a little affect as well.
I wasn't sure if it was someone new, so they tricked me.
It's absolutely the original Law actor.
Yeah.
And Sachi and Penguin are weirdly into it, looking good, Captain. But then Yeah, everyone's kind of like taking turns looking at each other like, oh, Beppo's a woman. Oh, I'm a woman. I have gigantic boobs.
Did you make mention in your notes about the one woman on the crew commenting on all of it or noticing everything? I forget.
I mean, she's just like a very far in the background with like a little.
But she's like thrilled. Yeah, she's like, finally, all these guys really are gone.
Yeah. She really is like, finally. Yes, this is like excellent.
It just took a while. Her dreams. We don't see her reaction when the antidote gets passed around, but I'm sure it's devastation.
And in keeping with the the theme, the heart of the Egghead storyline, we zoom in on an ass shot of Trafalgar Law, and
that's it.
As he's like kind of like flexing and he willpowers his way back into being a man.
By the way, this is the, I guess, gender transformation or sex transformation version of Super Saiyan, I guess. Because, God, I got Dragon Ball vibes like I haven't gotten in a while with that. Because it's just yelling and transforming, which we don't usually just
red
get
electricity going around. And
yeah, it's not usually just that.
Well, I'm going to say something now that'll blow up a bunch of heads of internet One Piece fans. Because everyone's saying, oh, this is more iconic than this, and this is more iconic than this. But realistically speaking, like speaking realistically for a second, I mean, Dragon Ball Z is just crazy iconic. There are certain poses and there's certain imagery that will just immediately make you think of it. So like when Law has his hands, when the hands are down and the head is up and there's like key energy, especially spiky key energy. Like I guess there could be like weird morphing stuff that wouldn't make you think of Dragon Ball Z. But if they're screaming into the air and there's spiky like energy waves, done. Like there's no way it's not a Dragon Ball.
I like that it's. I mean, I like it that it feels like an homage to that because it's such a ridiculous scene. I think on purpose. So it's funny to give it that like. Oh, this is ultra super cool that she's transforming back into regular Law.
Throw some like Toei sound library sound effects in there.
That really helps. To be fair, though, it's like literally the same sound effects.
And
people talk about the sound effects, and usually it's in a how come they're using the exact same thing kind of sense. And I'm not going to get into that, because even the sound people, I work with coworkers and all that. But I mean, one thing that I can say, and people should know, you can know from looking at the credits, it's literally like the main sound guy is literally the Dragon Ball Z guy from the original, like even Dragon Ball series all the way through. So it literally is the same library with the same guy with the same taste, like for real. And that's kind of one of the honors that the One Piece series has. It actually is the successor to Dragon Ball Z in a whole lot of ways. Same studio, same exact sound department, et cetera, et cetera.
And
I didn't realize that there would be a guy. I didn't realize that there would be a guy's name you could attach. Like,
I didn't think about that either.
You can. I don't
know if there's a Sakuga fan equivalent for sound people, but I'm sure.
I think there are, like in Japan. Again, like sorry, his name's not. I can't think of it off the top of my head. I could look it up if you want. But well, for enthusiasts, they could look it up. But like he is crazy, well known and popular, and he's the Dragon Ball sound effects guy. Like generations grew up listening to his decisions. So he does get his props.
Hidenori Arai, is that it?
It might be. Arai does sound familiar. I think that might be the name. I don't want to stick.
So we'll see. It says he worked on 457 of the episodes, so that might not be all.
Only that.
Yeah, that's not really even that many. That's way less than half.
The other half were his like interns.
He should. I think he deserves a break if he's personally making the sound effects repeatedly for every episode. Yeah, sorry, I derailed that conversation.
So we got Doc Q kind of flying overhead on Pegasus version of Stronger the horse, and he's impressed that Law's.
Oh yeah, sorry. No.
powered his way through. And he's like, "Oh, I bet you liked that feminization disease, didn't you?"
Does he ever answer that question?
I mean, like Doc Q is like speaking rhetorically.
No, I know.
Law can't hear him, but yeah, and so the submarine is trying to make its way to land before all these catastrophes surrounding them catch up. And but Jesus Burgess is there waiting for them with a big mountain held over his shoulder, ready to throw. Because he's got the strong fruit.
That's his new mask too.
He's got a new mask because
he got fucked up
in Dressrosa. Is the gold like welded to his face then, or is I
don't know. It's cool looking though. I don't know. It's hard to tell.
My guess, I don't know, but my guess is that like it's basically part of his face now, like holding bones together. It would be my guess, right?
Like
he doesn't even have a real eye. It doesn't look like it. It's like Frankie-ish almost.
But Law, he has the exact powers necessary to cut up a mountain into more manageable chunks. That after Jesus Burgess throws it. And then Blackbeard takes this opportunity to leap on top of Doc Q, who is on top of Stronger.
I think this is hilarious. I thought it was in the manga too. I think it's what a funny way to show the dynamic.
And he's shouting down at Law, and they're finally seeing each other eye to eye, and they're discussing like, oh, how many poneglyphs do you have, huh? And so it's clear that this is a battle. The winner takes it all. Whoever wins gets the other party's poneglyphs. And then that brings us to the eye catch of the episode. Just little bit of egghead flavor because it's nowhere else in the episode.
Yeah.
And then we come back, and I like this like super scary looking Blackbeard looking down at Law, like all the blacks, all the reds, all the just like circle eyes. The Heart Pirates are like on land now. Law's like giving the orders, and he's like making these cool like strides, like as his crew is like kind of scrambling around and getting their individual plans into action. Law's like just.
I enjoyed.
He's like a cool guy walking away from an explosion, but he's like walking towards the oncoming explosion of the fight.
And I really like the animation in this whole section.
Animation is cool. I like how like the cool like snappy camera as it kind of like rotates and then punches in and then pulls out, and there's a lot of cool stuff with that.
I forget. Sorry, you also see the island a bunch in this one. Was it a penis joke? I remember it being a penis joke.
Later they call it Winter Island.
Oh, it was Wiener. I think it literally was something like that in the Japanese.
Wiener?
I think it was something.
Oh yeah, I guess it would be pronounced
euphemistic,
like Wiener or whatever.
Yeah. It was something. There was something to it because if you look at the mountains. Anyway, go ahead. Let's get to the serious.
I think it's Winter Island because winner takes all.
The kanji the kanji is winner is like to the victor the victor's island.
I remember discussing it a long time ago. I forget what it was.
I do agree the mountains are a little suspicious design wise. So but I don't know if that pun would translate over. I mean it who knows what Oda Sensei was thinking, to be honest, but.
Is Oda's dick jokes multilingual?
Yeah, how's his dick joke game? How's his dick joke game?
It's pretty good, I would think. I would not put it past
in
him,
Japanese, but in English, international dick joke. That's
I don't know. He's been working on the live action with that crew. He might be a little bit better at that. Yeah. Boning up. God, I'm sorry. I apologize for that one.
Law is using a version of his awakened powers. Room, like you can just like throw one of his rooms, and we got this this sequence of like we got the camera rotating around the Stronger Doc Q and Blackbeard group, and like then you see Stronger get cut horizontally in half, so like the legs half just like pops down, and like the camera's still kind of pulled back, but we're seeing like all of the characters in the shot kind of like reacting to this very awkward realization that this horse has just been cut in half in a very like sort of graphic, sort of cartoony way. And then they start falling like Looney Tunes characters who have, just run off a cliff. And Blackbeard just looks crazy and scribbly and super cool and like throwing earthquakes around. Just makes this big giant earthquake that looks like a giant like kind of glowing spider web in the sky.
I thought it was super, like, one of my favorite attacks generally is Whitebeard's Quake attack, and just seeing it done in this way with the new animation crew, I just thought was super cool, because I never really felt like it got the full breadth of the fear and terror that should come out of that, and I always thought it was the coolest looking panels in the manga, the Quake stuff. So gushing a little bit, but I really like that.
And it has like kind of the quickness that you would feel when you play as like Whitebeard or somebody in Pirate Warriors, where like you're, rather than like the scene stopping so that you can see the earthquakes, it's like the earthquake is incorporated into like just slamming the characters to and from the different sides of the screen and stuff.
Yeah, you feel the weight of it a lot more. I think but I don't want to waste too much time on talking about that.
Doc Q is dropping some apples. Well, first Doc Q has like a moment with Stronger where he's like, "Oh, Stronger, you're dead. Oh, I'm so sorry." And then like but then he like neighs or whatever, and it's like, "Oh no, you got cut by Law's powers. You're actually fine." But Doc Q's throwing some apples into towards the Polar Tang. But the Heart Pirates, they know the score. They know that that's dangerous, and we got Sachi swimming underwater, showing his very like aquatic skills, where he like sucks up the water, comes up to the surface, and like starts shooting at the apples feels like something that like a fishman would do, but not having devil fruit powers. Many members of Law Screw are very adept at using water or fighting in water. So Law and Blackbeard are having their fight. Law's got his extendo sword like he used against Big Mom, and stabs Blackbeard, but again, like it doesn't actually hurt or do damage. It just kind of goes through him, but it gives Law a chance to shock Blackbeard. And I like Van Auger is using his like warp powers, like when Blackbeard takes a hit and he's like falling through the sky again.
Speaking of Dragon Ball sound effects, that one
he like pops in. I like Van Auger like popping in like to follow Blackbeard's fall, and he's like very calmly talking to Blackbeard, like, "Hey, Captain, do you want some help?" And then Blackbeard's like, "Oh no, I'm fine," but then Van Auger just kind of warps him anyway. And Blackbeard just lands super cool, just like this huge weight just slamming down, landing perfectly on his feet. The ground crumbles. We've got Blackbeard's ship getting tossed around in all the various action going on, and this is when we cut to the inside, where we see that they have a prisoner, Charlotte Pudding, who's being kind of like teased and taunted by some of the lower grunts of the Blackbeard pirates. And Pudding's like, "Oh, if Mama were alive, you'd be shutting your mouths." She's got a posture somehow, using her mother's name to threaten. So we get the explanation for how this has come to be. We flash back. We have previously at Chocolate Town, and the Chocolate Town that we saw at the end of Whole Cake Island looks a little bit different now. It's all covered in ice. I wonder who did that. And so we get this this is like a dialogue-free, almost like a silent film, like kind of stretch of 2 minutes. This is Henry's scene that we were discussing earlier, obviously. And it's Van Auger and Kuzan versus Cracker. You got this cool, like scary, inky Kuzan walking towards the camera. Van Auger is shooting Cracker soldiers, and then after that fight, we kind of cut away from that fight to Brûlé entering the scene, looking around like, "Oh, brother Pudding, where are you?" And but the fight's already over, and the Blackbeard pirates have successfully kidnapped Pudding.
I'll save my thoughts until we. I'm sure we'll talk about this in depth. Yeah.
And then we have a scene of Marine HQ. Sakazuki's receiving news about Blackbeard and Law fighting, and I think this is the panel that got like turned into a meme. I can't remember how it goes.
Yeah.
It's like Sakazuki's like, "Oh, they're beating my ass in the quote retreats. I'm gonna stay home."
Yeah. I mean, this really again drives home that Sakazuki hates his job and he's a desk junkie and he can't do anything and he hates it. I'm sure that there'll be.
It is funny to cut to him here so that he can say he's not going to do anything.
Yeah, I mean it's that way in the manga too. It's like, oh, I wish I could do something, but I can't. It's like, why are we even cutting them?
I'll let them sort their stuff out first.
I guess the one thing narratively it shows is that the upper echelon of the Marines knows what's going on everywhere.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Which is kind of interesting. Like, how do they know what's happening on this island? Like, you know what I mean? Like, are there actually scouts everywhere? Is that thing in the sky from a few episodes ago, like, be able to almost like a satellite, pick up on anywhere? Like it's like in live time, not having heard about it in hindsight. In live time, he knows what's happening on every island everywhere, which is kind of
yeah. I imagine,
but he can't do anything about it except complain about it.
Well, so. Obviously,
like how Drake was feeding.
Do anything. Yeah.
Like Drake was feeding info from Wano. That's how they were able to.
That's true.
Yeah, that's
true.
This one is odd. This might also just be an Oda didn't really think about how he would know, but it is weird. Why would he have put that scene in there if there weren't some explanation?
I mean, it establishes this, when emperors fight, or like somebody who's close to emperor level, like Law,
unless maybe Kuzan,
that's like something in the gravity of the world is shifting.
Maybe Kuzan's still secretly working for the Marines and sneaking information.
I don't like that.
I don't like that either, but it's possible. I suppose
it doesn't look like Kuzan's on that island though, right? Like he would have joined in the fight.
Yeah. Well, I guess
that's
Van
true.
Auger's there. Van Auger's in both places.
Actually, for sure, he's not there, right? Because
I know exactly where he is.
Yeah, I know exactly where he is.
Yeah, it's hard to forget. It's hard to remember. Sorry, the timeline, because this whole arc really is where are all the pieces on the board, and they're all, and you go back and forth in time, like Henry's whole scene. That it gets very complicated as to who was where when. Sam, sorry, go ahead, because I think we're almost through the episode, right?
Yes. So, we return to the fight, and Law's throwing just rubble at Blackbeard, and this results in a clash where Blackbeard's kind of fist is going up against Law's big long sword, and they're like kind of standing off and staring down and kind of pushing for a little bit, and then Blackbeard pulls out the black vortex, and then like the classic kind of like sandy black vapor kind of consumes the screen, and Law looks kind of like worried because he's like, uh-oh, some tricks getting pulled out here. And then to be continued. That is the end.
And
of
the blackness consumes the screen. I like that too. That's a sound effect I really like, by the way. Since we're talking about so much about sound effects, I like the Blackbeard stuff. Yeah,
Henry.
All right.
What's the story here?
Yeah, give us the
nothing much. I don't have much to say. You know me. No. So let's see. Episode director Sho Inutsuka. People, I think, online maybe pronounce it as Inuzuka, and even in Japan, some people do, but the correct pronunciation is Inutsuka. So Inutsuka-san was the episode director. He did most of the storyboards himself, but there was an action segment with Ishizuka-san, Katsumi Ishizuka, the very popular, famous kind of action animator / recently storyboard artist of One Piece that only pops up every so often. And then the animation director was Kazuya Hisada. Hisada-san is, I think it might have been the first time I worked with him, but as I found out, he's open to various styles and stuff. So I guess that's why he doesn't necessarily correct when he just likes something. Like when something looks cool, he kind of lets it just go, which is cool. He's an animation director, I guess. Animators probably really like working with. And yeah, this one, I made a post about this, but for those that don't like follow me on social media, this is the first time since episode 1017 that like a whole bunch of us were all on the same episode. 1017 was like everyone jumped in on that one, right? So this one isn't as like crazy stacked as that one, from literally start to finish, but it's the first time that like myself, Ishizuka-san, Shida-san, Chris, and Vincent were like all on the exact same episode. We've been working through Onigashima together, but on the exact same episode, not so much. But yeah, so a whole bunch of people came together on this one, and it ended up being a cool episode. So like their parts, just to before I even talk about mine, like Ishizuka boards are right when the B part starts, so right after we get back from the eye catch in the middle of the episode, when we get back from the commercial break, for the next like few minutes, that's all Ishizuka-san's storyboards. And Ishizuka-san also did partial animation direction on that too, like correcting. He saw everything that was being produced and made corrections accordingly. And so within that section, I think like the main first part where you see like the cool Law stepping forward is Chris. Not the first handful of cuts, but like once Law kind of steps forward and does his thing, and the style kind of changes. That's Chris. The horse being cut and falling, and that little section there, that's an animator, Fasto. And I think that cut is kind of like being slept on a little bit. Like online, I see like a whole lot of people talking about Vincent's part and a bunch of people talking about Mar's part, which I'm appreciative, of course. But to be honest, this one horse cut, it might be like my favorite. There's just something so cool about it. Like the whole thing is rotating, and then the lighting effect, the compositing also really helps it. But then even after that, there's like a quick zoom out and they both fall. And when they're falling, it's really like great character animation. I think the horse's wings are flapping and Blackbeard is like reaching, as he's falling. So that was really cool. The big giant earthquake is Vincent. Vincent, everyone knows, is like the crazy fluent in the camera rotating kind of thing. And then the whole last few minutes, with the exception of just a few cuts of putting in the submarine, would be me and Shida. So once it goes to the flashback, I'm the whole flashback. Then when it cuts back, there's like 2 or 3 cuts or something of Pudding's face. And then immediately it cuts to Shida's drawings, and he takes it all the way through the end of the episode. Yeah. So everyone did an awesome job. The whole point was Blackbeard's fight and everything. And they gave me the storyboards. And I could kind of pick to a certain degree where I was going to animate, although Ishizuka-san's part, I think, had already all been divided out. So like the main crazy crux of the fighting wasn't available at my time, but I could have taken like a whole bunch of other stuff. But one of my favorite characters is actually Aokiji. Like I really do like Aokiji.
Same, yeah.
Genuinely, like as a fan, like and so I did want to do his part. The funny thing is, though, as much as I wanted to draw Aokiji, like we never really saw him. So like I'm flipping through the storyboards and I'm like, oh, okay, like, oh, this would be cool. But like at first I wasn't thinking about taking the entire thing because it's just too much. Like 2 minutes is too much. Like I made a post about that too. Like, to be honest, I would never suggest doing 2 minutes or plus, some crazy amount.
I was just going to say, I thought it was extra impressive. The thing I held off saying before is that this was all cover story material. So
oh, yes.
It's not like you even had, to draw from panels of manga and action like that. You just have still, that's it. So
I literally had 3 panels to draw from. So 3 of like the almost 50 sequences in this, I had something to draw from, but they were all like essentially still frames. There was one image of Chocolat Town. There was one image of Cracker Frozen, and then there was one image of them, of Van Auger and Kuzan standing next to each other, essentially in front of Pudding. Other than that, it's 100%. There was nothing to go off of. But I was like, okay, I want a segment in here because I like Kuzan, and I'm looking at the boards and I'm like, but we don't see him. Like I'm looking at his feet and like I'm looking at the back of his head. Like come on, I want to draw this character. Where is he? And then at the very end he pops up, but it's like still frames. There's 2 still frames of him. So I'm like, okay, I could do that part, but like I can't really push that very far. It's just a matter of showing him, right? So I went back and forth with Inutsuka-san, the episode director, like, where should I do? And he was basically like, I'd really appreciate it if you could just take the whole thing, because like if you don't, then it gets divided up, right? It gets divided up between people, like every part does, but then I have to check, is your stuff working? Is other people's stuff working? Like, if you just take it, I'll stay off your back. Like, you can mess with it, essentially, as much as you want, and I'll know that from start to finish you're handling it, so like I won't have to worry. But if you don't take all of it, then I do have to consider, like, is everything working? So if you want like some freedom, essentially, like, you have to take the whole thing, and then I can rest assured. So I was like, oh my god, that's so much. Like, outside of 1066, which was truly my own episode where like I jumped in and animated a bunch of stuff myself, this is the most I've ever animated on an episode. Because even 1017, I think I got to like, I don't remember what it was. A few seconds less than this. It was a few seconds less than this, at least. This was like second for second, I think, the most I've ever animated on a single episode of anything. And I'm like, man, I really, to be honest, don't want to do that much work. It is crazy. And there is no way I can possibly clean it up myself. Not 100%. Well, I'll see how far I can go, but at some point I'm going to be like a few weeks out, from deadline, and be like, there's more than a few weeks of work here. So, okay. So then that means I'll have to call on some people to help me. So I have to just mentally kind of prep for all of that if I'm going to take this much. But I asked Inutsuka-san, like, how much can I edit this? Like, can I even change things, even down to the storyboards for certain parts? And he told me what I could and could not mess with, but it was a good deal, essentially, for me. So I did ask afterwards, can I get a storyboard like revisionist credit? But they wouldn't give it to me on this one, because storyboard revisionist credits apparently don't really exist in anime, at least not at Toei Animation, which is okay. Like, to be honest, like, I'm not bitter about it. It's totally fine. Like, they, sometimes key animators alter things, and they don't get a storyboard credit for that. They made a deal with the episode director that they could alter things. So we're just considering it that. But realistically, realistically, I heavily changed, even down to the storyboards, specifically the part from when Cracker starts clapping through when Kuzan kind of kills or absolutely wrecks Cracker, right, and walks by him. The beginning, where the intro to Chocolat Town is shown, and then the whole ending where Pudding is on the ship, I didn't mess with too much. A little bit maybe, but not very much. Like, that's basically what Inutsuka-san wanted. Even the action scene that I did change, I kept jumping back to sequences he wanted to show. Like, there's one really cool one actually he came up with, which was Cracker stepping back, and like when he steps back, it reveals Van Auger on a rooftop in the distance. So like that was one of his sequences. And even the ice swooshing against the ground and then going up Cracker's foot, that was also one of his sequences. So I kept jumping back to his original boards so that I didn't stray too much. But the whole choreography of like Van Ogre on the roof and like bang, 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 and like a bunch of the zipping camera angles and guys getting blasted, that I rethought like what it would look like. And the whole Kuzan scene with the crazy ink stuff, which I'll talk about, that was also like I thought up, because originally it was true that originally the camera was truly staying away from his face altogether and was truly only on feet and stuff until the final. And I was like, but I really love Kuzan. Like I want to make one, at least let me have him just in the middle of the screen one time, right? But somehow I had to have him in the middle of the screen, but still hide him. So how do you do that?
Interesting compromise.
It's an impossible to accomplish thing unless you. Whenever I'm faced with like what I need to do is impossible, my mind immediately goes to, well, that's a perfect situation to bust out the artsy, right? Because that's what art can do. Like real life can't do that. Like if you're shooting a live action, you can't have a character in the middle of the screen and then still hide who they are. It's not by the way, like fans aren't going to know who the ice guy in the middle is, with that silhouette. but
it's like the impression of like he's here, but like we're not facing him.
It's more menacing if you don't completely, I get it.
We haven't admitted to it yet. You know who it is if you're a fan, but you're still waiting on like the true ultimate confirmation where they make very clear this is what happened in the scene, like something is still, they're still not being totally honest with you, kind of like that. There's still mystery in the scene a little bit, even at least to the point of like, why does he look like this? Why is it so menacing? So that's kind of why almost that scene exists, because like Henry really wanted to draw a Kuzan scene, but there wasn't a camera angle like ready to go. And I had to figure out how to get that to work. It's just really cool to get to do a cover story. Cover stories are so rarely shown in the series. And I thought when reading this cover story, like, way back, whatever it was, a year ago or when it came out, that this was like, even then I did think to myself, like, this is an unusually relevant cover story. Yeah. In fact, I think it might be the only time in the whole series where like the cover story of that chapter related to that chapter.
I think you're right.
Like you open up the cover story, suddenly who Pudding was kidnapped by and who took her is revealed. And then a few pages later in the actual chapter, that information is relevant and you see her having been kidnapped, right?
Right.
So in the anime,
the inverse almost of
we saw her kidnapped first, but then at least they immediately gave you the answer, right? So it was still all in the same place. They gave you the answer with the reveal of her being kidnapped, right? And I thought, like, at that time, this is like too relevant. Like, how are you going to not show that?
I'm happy that you all did. I'll say that for sure.
I mean, you could argue all the cover chapters are important, and this is where that character ended up, and then and even I think like it's kind of a bummer we don't get to see that in the anime sometimes, and then they just appear in that area. Oh yeah, I moved out here. Well, there was a backstory on that. I kind of wish we saw. But this one was like, no, like without showing it, a big plot hole would be there. So yeah, great decision that they decided to do it. An honor to make it. Lots of freedom. And then even after, you have freedom in the layouts, you worry that it'll change drastically for cleanup because a whole bunch of people need to check it. But I was, as I mentioned earlier, very, very lucky this time that both the episode director and the animation director like I mean, there was a couple little notes here and there, but that's reasonable. I was like, for all intents and purposes, like almost left totally unchanged, which is wild. Um, and so then I had a ton of cleanup work to do, and I did the best I could, and I did most of it. Shockingly, I did more than I thought I was even going to be able to do myself, to be honest. But yeah, I got to that one point where I was like, we're a few weeks out, and I'm not going to be able to finish. So I called on Jose, Junie, and Kofi, who are three animators who did great work.
We spoke to
1066.
Kofi, I think,
yeah.
Last time.
And yeah, so they totally saved me and did great work. I don't like passing that kind of work to people who I'm unsure about, because who knows what'll happen. Like there have been cases, even in One Piece, if I'm being honest, in kind of my earlier stuff, where like I was like, okay, just pass it off to whoever. And then it came back and I'm like, oh no, like the sequence isn't what I wanted it to be at all. And you know, it works, but like, it's not what I wanted it to be. So, you know, who can I trust to clean it up? And it's not that their style doesn't seep in. I'm not, I didn't ask anyone like hide your own style. Like you can kind of tell which one, you know, it's interesting. Jose, I think, really matches mine very, very closely. You almost can't tell. Oh, there's a little difference because, of course, there's artists, but I think he matches me very close. Kofi is also fairly close, although he's not shy about like, well, I do it this way a little bit. No, which is totally cool because it's good. You know, I know everyone's really good quality, so I'm okay. Junie, on the other hand, it does very much become his style. So like my style does kind of drop from a few sequences and it becomes his style, but his style's great, and it preserves my key animation and my timing and everything. So it's like it's exactly the sequence I wanted, but simply the line art is different than what I would have, you know, done myself. But it's so good. It's a good collaborative kind of relationship, I guess I have with Junie, let's say, because I'm totally A-okay with his style. I like his style a lot, and so and he's good enough to 100% preserve the stuff that I wanted preserved. So you might see the style change a little bit here and there throughout the 2 minutes, but that's just because of their cleanup work and you know, taking some of the line art in their own directions. But yeah, for all intents and purposes, two straight minutes. And yeah,
I'm curious. So sorry,
no, good. No, all good.
No, I was just gonna ask that. So was gonna say my three favorite moments in the 2 minutes, and so now I'm curious which were you and which may not have been. We talked about the Kuzan, the silhouetted in the middle, and the ones of the fake crackers getting shot, I thought were particularly cool. I don't know, that just for whatever reason. And I thought the stuff with Brule was actually very like well done character work.
What was with Brule? Oh yeah,
Brule.
Yeah.
I thought like the emotion of that
Brule,
moment.
Brule,
Whichever.
Brule,
just because I know she actually had that whole emotional backstory in Whole Cake Island too, and was she even in the cover story?
She was, but
okay.
Again, like you try to take off like, of the smallest. She was in the distance, crying when Cracker was frozen up front.
I thought that was super well done. Like that's a very nice.
I changed it. I changed it from her crying to her grasping her mouth because the tone of the whole flashback was serious, and like the drawing in the cover story was silly. She's in the back like, you know, like
I like that change. Yeah,
but that's there's not a lot of like voices going on in the sequence. Like,
no,
right. There's that, but also this is another example which we've talked about. Like, you know, the art forms are different. One of them is a comic and it's illustration and everything has to be told via illustration, and another is essentially film, animation and film, right? So they are different. So in an illustration, you want to convey everything in one single drawing, right? So you exaggerate certain things. So Cracker's here, and then it's like, what's happening? The sister is in the back, and with big waves of tears. And then even in that one, there's a thought bubble that has pudding, getting kidnapped or something.
And well, so he has to do it in one panel,
one drawing,
describe
one
10
panel. Here's everyone's emotions and feelings. Like if you had Brûlé just holding her mouth, it would be like, what's she doing? Is she...
And it's also probably the last thing he does before releasing the chapter. I'm pretty sure the cover story usually is like.
Wouldn't be surprised. Yeah,
because it's not the meat of it.
So in animation, in film, I don't have to show everything in one single image. You can introduce the character running through the town. You can show her turning. You can show her reaction and that she is upset via character animation sequence. And then in that final one, we can just have our eyes focus on, Cracker being frozen, which is the main point, without having a big distraction in the background of some weird animation cycle of Archie tears. Your eyes should go to Cracker in that shot. So we still see Brûlé back there, but she doesn't have to be doing anything so crazy. So again, that's why adaptation, I think you have to alter some things. People get mad at that, but I think Sam's right that the silence also gives that more weight in that moment. I appreciate you actually saying the Brûlé stuff though, because I even it's funny, even I kind of forget about that, but I like that, and I actually think it's some of my better character
it looks
animation
great.
Work, character animation. I almost wonder if I should just take some character animation work for an episode or two in the future and not do any kind of action thing, just because number one, to challenge myself, how good am I with that, but also to show people I think I'm okay with this too. I just don't do it very often. I did it for the film Red, right? That was Zoro and Sanji kind of yelling at each other in that one sequence, and you guys liked it. And then I did it for Brûlé here, but not too many sequences of just character acting. So to answer your question, well, first of all, the ink scene, the Kuzan scene, I want to mention that was all actually that scene, and then all the impact frames throughout were all done with ink on paper. I busted out a light box.
I was about to ask because I saw on Twitter.
I busted out the light box, turned the light on, had a whole stack of papers. I busted out some ink. I brought out pens and then brushes. And everyone was asking me what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I said, Inutsuka-san said I kind of get some freedom on this, so I'm gonna do something crazy. Is that okay? And then, I see some of the directors look, and the series directors, it's what is Henry doing? What is he splashing ink on these pages for? What is he going to make with this? And then Inutsuka-san would whisper something in the ear, oh, it's gonna be this kind of sequence.
It's super cool.
And they're whatever. If you and he both know what he's doing, then it's fine. But I don't know what he's doing. So for a couple, I don't know how the sequence was for the technical animation folks out there that are really interested in how it was done. I animated it roughly on the computer digitally because I am a digital animator. And so the color area underneath is the digital animation that I first made with no outlines. It was just splashy color animation of generally the form of Kuzan lifting his arms out. Once that animation was as smooth as I wanted it to be and was working exactly how I wanted it to be, and I even got that okayed from the episode director, so I knew I wouldn't be doing work that wouldn't become anything, then I printed all of them out and I put them underneath the new page that I was actually doing the ink work on the light box. And then on the new blank piece of paper, I made I didn't even follow the character underneath, but at least I knew what the shape of the character for this particular frame would be each time as I went frame by frame. And then I just went straight ahead and over that new silhouette, that new position of Kuzan, I made an ink illustration, basically splashed the ink a little bit to the right this time, splashed it to the left this time, made it all super thick and splotchy this time, very thin with just some crosshatch work this time, and I just kept changing it up and changing the directions. And then after I saw how it was working, generally it worked right away. There might have been a couple little touch-ups here and there, but so it's all actual paper and ink animation overlaid on just some digital coloring. Yeah.
Wow.
That's
nuts.
It was fun though. It was fun to finally do something analog for the first time in a while.
I'm sure.
Then the second one you said
the
was
Cracker, the Von Ogre shooting, or the actual.
Oh, okay.
It was. I think it was more like the direction of it, particularly
the very first. Oh, okay. So that one actually.
There were like two of them, I think.
There was 3 times they crumbled. The first one where all 3. But by the way, to be honest, my biggest, most difficult sequence, even more so than the ink one, was the long one of Cracker clapping. Like, people aren't pointing to that one so much, which I get.
No, I really like that one. But I felt like the more obvious choice. I'm trying to.
Yeah. No, but that one was like the longest, hardest. Like, took me a very long time to clean up because it was like clap, 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 zoom out, and then like all 3 of the guys jump out, and there's no repeated animation. It's just like, and then it ends up with like everyone on screen all at the same time. All 3 of the biscuits, those are Crackers biscuits. all three of the biscuits, and then Kuzan and Van Auger up front, and like that's all like, there's no like digital zoom outs. It's all like hand on zoom outs. So that was crazy. But then the sequence right after that, when there's the 3 heads, or the 3 kind of, you see the top part of the 3 biscuits, and then the one in the middle gets shot, with the exception of the I mean, I did all the layouts and everything, and then but that was Kofi. Kofi cleaned up that one. He followed my stuff very, very closely though. And then the impact frames were the ink on paper stuff that I had prepared. But yes, that one was Kofi. And then a bunch of the next shots of Cracker were Junie. That you could see the style kind of change on the line on those. But then Van Auger shooting back down, that was me. And when the next biscuit gets shot from the back, that was me. But then there's one last. I think
that's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Then there's one last one of like a full-bodied biscuit blocking and then getting blasted up top and flipping over. So again, it was all my layouts, and Kofi followed it close. But Kofi did that one too. Kofi just did 2, but it was 2 of the 3 biscuits getting blasted. Yes.
Sam. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I was going to say the last one, Brule. But yeah, Sam, do you have any comments on the biscuit stuff or questions?
No, not in particular. That was pretty comprehensive.
Okay, cool. Then the Brule stuff. Brule, all animated by me, and then I think so I didn't clean her up though. Who cleaned her up? Jose cleaned up the big set of first running stuff, but like I said, he follows me very closely, so like it was almost like I cleaned it up, like stylistically, like it would have probably looked almost the exact same. And then the last 2, I believe, were Junie, if I'm not mistaken. But again, like he followed my keyframes closely. I guess the only difference would have been maybe I would have added because you know me, I would have added maybe like a couple extra darker shadows or something, like near Brule's eyes or something like that under her chin. But yeah, that's who did those sections.
Yeah, and Jose, also a friend of the show who came on for the last time too. I asked if he could come just to tell a little bit about his stuff, but I think it's like Monday morning there, and he's working.
Monday morning? Who would do this on a Monday morning? That's
no
one. That's crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah, no, but you have a very good team of folks that you've assembled for.
I was very lucky. I was very lucky because I reached out to them late too. Keep in mind, I was like, I wanted to see what I couldn't do first, and all three of them really helped me out. So yeah, thanks guys.
Yeah. Sam, anything about the episode generally that you want to ask Henry about, or that we haven't? I feel like we were probably pretty comprehensive.
If you have nothing else, I guess there's a couple other things I could address. But
please do. I know I hear the Sakuga fans yelling at me that I haven't asked blank.
Go for it. What haven't you asked?
No, I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm hearing them in the future telling me that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Where are the auras?
Yeah, that's the question.
So I mean, there's one guy, because everyone already should know the backstory of this. I'm not going to go into all the backstory on that again. But there's one guy that, like, and I won't even say his name to give him advertisements or whatever. But like, he just since that time, everyone has come to realize, like, Henry's not the aura guy. So like, I don't get those comments anymore. Like I'm not the guy that adds overly crazy effects on everything and blasts.
There are other things to get mad about, guys.
Yeah.
Not with that attitude.
But there's one guy. There's one guy that under almost not every one of my posts, but like whenever it's like a One Piece related post, every single time, knock out the auras. And like, he's not saying it sarcastically though. Like, he literally then posts a bunch of hate posts and like there's one guy that like won't let it go.
You are fearless online, and I very much envy that, as I am very fearful. But it's these things need to be said sometimes. So whatever. Go ahead with the thing.
The couple things I was gonna, if I can remember them now, I didn't write them down, but I was gonna try to address like a couple questions that like I see people like.
Yeah, I'll see if anyone online. Someone may have. Yeah,
the first thing is like power scaling. Everyone's like, how is
that's all Henry? So Henry determines.
And how's it? Well, first of all, I mean,
I saw one.
I did mess with the storyboards a little bit, but the whole story was already set in stone. So don't come at me with like Van Augur's bullets killing the biscuits in one hit, because that was, I don't know if that was in the script, or that was probably in the even as basic as script though, like Van Augur then shoots and 3 biscuit, or then a biscuit or 2 or whatever fall, and crumble or something.
To be fair, bullets are the weakest thing in One Piece, and therefore shouldn't really affect anything.
He's got like hockey bullets.
I'm sure they're special.
Yeah. Well, there is one interesting point people make, which is that in this episode you see the Van Augur bullets blasting the biscuits, which like Gear 4 Luffy even struggled with, and then later on, or earlier, like it Jam Bart. If like takes a bullet and like so like, is he stronger?
To be fair, that is kind of weird.
So you're saying like Jam Bart is stronger than Gear 4th Luffy? Here's what I would have to say to all that, because
no. Jean Bart is stronger than Van Augur, who's stronger than Gear 4 Luffy.
That's true. I mean, so maybe he's like Gear 5th. I think this is legit.
Okay, they're bullets though, and they're biscuits. I mean, bullets go through biscuits. There's just physics here.
In a bunch of people saying like, well, this isn't canon, et cetera, et cetera. In terms of, I can only offer my opinion, but as Greg has said in the past, like there's a canon for the manga, and then there's a canon for the anime. They're almost two separate things. Like one of them does have a whole bunch of additional scenes and even characters. Like, does Apis not exist in the One Piece anime world? But in the anime world,
probably not anymore.
Yes, she does. In the anime
even
world,
her,
she does.
She's somewhere in Stampede.
She probably is. She probably
Everyone's
is.
In Stampede.
Yeah. No, but does she exist in the manga? No. Like, I admit she doesn't exist in the manga, but like, does she exist on? Henry. Can she exist on the island? In that she ended up at in the anime? Yes, of course she does. Like, that was part of it. Everyone's gonna watch through the whole thing, and everything exists, except for the movie spin-off stuff. Like if there's like a 3-episode like pre-movie thing that doesn't fit in canon whatsoever, I think you can kind of throw that out of your mind, right? But no, like this is how it works in the anime. But what I was going to say is there's one, and I always quote like stuff and people that like I just see online in videos on this podcast, but like there's a Stan Lee like viral video that goes around from time to time.
I've seen,
yeah. You already know what I'm gonna say, but like that is the answer. He's like, for people who want to know, like I forget what he says exactly, but like who wins in the fight, the Hulk or like Captain America? You know who wins? Whoever I say wins. Because I'm the writer. No one is stronger. The one who wins and the one who beats the other one is the one who I say. Who's stronger on this particular day? Whoever I say is. Who's smarter and happens to outwit the other one, and who happens to, he doesn't use this terminology, but like who tanks that one attack that one time, but then
I can see Stan Lee saying that.
Yeah, like it's whoever I say, right? So the answer is whoever Oda says, essentially. But then in the anime, when it comes to direction and script writing, et cetera, it's the mix of Oda and whatever we say, right? Like that's what it is. And so like
that thing isn't so important versus like the flow of an episode and
this episode had a horse chopped in half, an earthquake man, like
not just earthquake, he also has darkness.
People turning back and forth between men and women, right? Like via superpowers. And then an Iceman that was depicted in morphing silhouette, a 3-eyed girl. You know what I mean?
You really should have been more realistic with that.
A sniper that can warp all around, a guy that can pick up a mountain, another guy that can just toss the mountain aside in midair. Yes, with half a face and other half robot face, even though they're pirates.
Come on.
And you are like, and you're sitting there at home going, the strength of the bullets is a little inconsistent. And I think we have to have a discussion about realistically what these bullets can penetrate. How about you just relax, buddy?
We have discussed power scaling on this show a lot, but like not to the depth of what exactly is wrong with it. And I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think the nail could be stronger than the head.
I think that there's just tons of justification for stuff, and like you could say Cracker was weakened. Let's say I'm going to suddenly make Cracker fans happy. Like Cracker could have been weakened for a handful of reasons. First of all,
he could be sick.
Shook.
Well,
not well,
from the ice. Sick,
it's yes, it's freezing out. He's also completely surprise attacked. He was basically like jumped.
He's not wearing a shirt.
Guys. He runs outside. Everyone's frozen. All of a sudden, there's like 2 of the freaking strongest characters in the whole universe standing in front of him, warping and stuff. His guys get he doesn't have a strategy because it's like so sudden. His guys get blasted, and he's like, but they're supposed to be so strong. Like he doesn't know which direction to look. There's a guy in front of him and behind him. Like he's jumped essentially. So if he had time to prep and it was a 1-on-1, if it was a tournament, could he take on Van Auger or even hypothetically Kuzan a little bit better? Probably not Kuzan. But
but hold on. Who would win a fight though? Cracker with preparation or Batman with preparation?
Batman.
Yeah, Cracker. Okay,
Batman
well,
or no,
Batman would be smarter about it. That's probably. I want to say
see, that's the thing. Like, it's whoever you want. Because you can write a story. You can write a story where Batman.
You can figure it out.
Admits that he's not physically as strong, but then comes up with an amazing plan. And then you can come up with another story where Batman has amazing plans and he's starting to beat Cracker, but then Cracker's powers just simply overcome. So like it's whatever you want. And you can also
it's whatever feels right.
You can also kind of justify that like different bullets potentially could be used, right? Because
but also Henry, the most ridiculous part of this is that the way Luffy beats Cracker is by eating him. So
that's
like
true. Yes, he literally eats
what him. Even I mean, like,
so Luffy's teeth can actually. That's true, right?
That's it. That's it. Luffy's teeth.
No, because actually, think about that. There's already completely and utterly nonsensical power scaling, just even within the manga Luffy fight. So you can't even blame us. Yeah. This is truly straight up canon.
It's really Oda's fault, and we should blame him.
Well, no. So you're telling me. You're telling me Luffy biting, and not even like a putting it all the strength into his jaw. We're talking about just normal biting because he ate again and again. So he's just going.
He has regular teeth too. He doesn't have special teeth.
He's just eating dozens and dozens of these biscuit characters. So his teeth can obviously just blast through the armor of these biscuit guys. And yet, hold on though.
No.
Year 4th. Giving like the freaking like jet gatlings or whatever he was doing at the time, like the hardest Gear 4th attacks that like could freaking bring Don Flamingo to his knees, couldn't do anything. So this punch, boom, look at that, not even a scratch, and then he just bites him and then he crumbles. So guys, relax. The bullets from Van Auger.
So Luffy should have eaten Doflamingo the entire time? That would have stopped that all from happening?
If the power scaling makes sense, then yes, that's right. His teeth
I'll say
are stronger than anything.
The biggest... Sam, go. Sorry.
We need a third backstory for Luffy where we explain that, like,
his teeth,
like the tips of his teeth are sea stone because like Shanks,
or they're hockey infused somehow.
Yeah.
The most ridiculous thing about power scaling generally is after Gear 5, which is literally cartoons the power, like or like in that it's like watching a Wile E. Coyote cartoon and saying the physics of this does not make sense.
Hold on a second. That guys, I have to step in here. The Roadrunner clearly painted that image on the wall, so there's no reason that would become a real tunnel. Like,
so is that paint stronger than Wile E. Coyote at the end?
Are you telling like why would it become? Why would the paint make it an actual tunnel, but then 3 seconds later it not be an actual tunnel?
Henry, I really hope that there is a power scaler
doing here.
There's a power scaler out there who's very, very angry, who for some reason listened to that entire thing. Power to you. Thank you for listening. But that was fun to get off my chest too.
No, we can keep it going. We can make the power scaling talk longer. I want to keep it going
just a little bit longer. Just a little bit. No, because I want to say like
yes.
Van Auger, I do think this, in terms of actual scaling, I'll give a little opinion. I do think the Blackbeard crew is no freaking joke. I think that probably they're going to be final villain kind of things, Blackbeard's crew versus Luffy's crew. And even if it's not ultimate final and maybe Emu or something is one boss above them, I don't think that's the case. I think Blackbeard's final end game stuff. But even if that's the case, he's absolutely one of, and I'm talking about like top 2, crews in the entire freaking thing. So all of his crew, his captains are just ridiculous. So I mean, even for a while, it's like world's greatest sniper or something, Van Auger, right? Like that's who Van Auger is. So like you can easily justify like Van Auger even literally way beyond every other shot in the whole universe, knows exactly where to place the bullet too. Like 1 centimeter to the left, 1 centimeter to the right, it doesn't work. But Van Auger assesses the situation, and if I hit this guy from exactly this angle, boom, all the biscuits explode.
He's the opposite of Blackbeard in the ability to plan and figure out.
So it's not just like the strength of the bullet. It's the placement and angle and direction and everything like that, right? And
he just warps the bullet inside of you.
He could.
To be honest, he very much could, and I very much imagine his warp ability will affect his fighting style more and more, as it goes. When he shot at Law, he shot a bullet to completely take out Law, right? But Jambart obviously was fast enough and noticed this enough to jump in the way. And yes, is it crazy that he took the bullet? Yes, but then again,
that part did confuse me. I'll be honest. But then
again, I got a theory for you guys. Check this out.
Go for it.
What is one reason that realistically Blackbeard would want Law and crew members to steal powers, right?
Oh,
so he could tell his crew, I don't want this guy's head blown off. Use freaking rubber bullets on this guy, right? Like, don't use.
He just forgot to use hockey on that bullet or something.
Or don't use hockey on the bullet.
No, I'm saying purposely didn't use hockey because, like, if I blow this guy in half, like I did the biscuit thing, Blackbeard's going to be like, dude, are you effing kidding me? I needed that power. So, like,
to be fair, Jean Bart is not a biscuit.
But then the fruit just like grows somewhere else nearby. I guess
it does not.
I don't know. We don't know.
You don't know where it grows, and you don't know.
When Smiley died, the axolotl slimy thing.
Yeah,
he died.
I don't know.
And,
we talked about this recently.
Moved to.
See, but now it's just theories
to the apple.
piling upon theories.
It's whatever Oda needs the story to be in that moment.
I'm going to be honest. Like, I don't think the Blackbeard crew. This might look. I'm a huge Law fan. Everyone knows I'm a huge Law fan, right? But I'll be honest. I don't even think in this fight, realistically, the Blackbeard crew was going all out. Blackbeard was laughing the whole time. Like, everyone's like,
well, Law was also
having fun.
A lot.
He was, but I think Blackbeard,
at the end, you see him
you see him just smile and lift his hand, and he knew at any point in time he's just going to smile and lift his hand, and all his crew members know at some point he's going to smile and just lift his hand. Like, whatever their dialogue might have been within the episode, like, are you sure we're doing okay, Captain? Like, I think they're just messing with each other, kind of.
Well,
so
they also
I don't
just
even
don't
think
plan.
was going all out. Yeah, I don't.
The whole thing about
he was shooting to kill at that time, straight up.
I think it was just their ad hoc style, trying to, like, they don't really plan. They're like, okay, we're going to wait here at the island, see who comes, and then attack them, but without any real...
I think they are on generally the same wavelength of, like, they're jokers. They're like, they're
all jokers. It's a group of jokers in a deck. That's the scary thing about them, almost.
Exactly.
Well, I've crunched the math.
Okay.
I've done the power scaling, and Law is going to win this fight next episode.
Oh, okay. Sounds legit. All right.
Yeah. Don't read the manga, and you'll be fine.
I don't have to, clearly.
Yeah. All right. So that ends our power scaling debate segment of the podcast. Oh no, was there anything else?
Actually, one last power scaling comment.
Oh, okay.
One last, super quick.
Okay.
Kuzan can do everything that was shown there. So, like, for people who are like, I think they're making Kuzan too strong. I think you've long since missed the point of Kuzan. Kuzan is like a hair's breadth away from Akainu. You know what I mean? Like, he literally, we don't even know how he lost. He might have, by the way, like, I could see a flashback where he beat Akainu, but then Akainu did something really like, like he set a trap under his leg or something like that. Yeah. Did something super douchey.
That's where his leg went.
It could even be something really bad, because, like, the one thing, I mean, I don't want to get into a whole Kuzan conversation, but, like, I don't actually believe Kuzan is really evil. I do believe he's truly helping the Blackbeard
We
crew,
should talk about this at the big Kuzan. If you want to come back on the show, I don't know if you're going to be working on that episode when that comes out, but there's a lot of Kuzan that he is such a great character.
He's a great character
study.
But one thing that I think doesn't change very much in the One Piece universe, guessing what the plot will be and where the characters are going to go and what they're going to do is very hard, because Oda Sensei really does, like, keep the twists and turns coming, and it's never what you expect. But one thing that is fairly consistent is the heart of the character. So, like, if a character has a good heart, they do not become evil. It's not like Breaking Bad, and, like, this guy you loved is a terrible human now. And the reverse.
The other way around is fine.
The other way around.
Well, evil guys can soften.
Evil guys could sometimes become good. Yeah,
they can. Soften,
or in different circumstances, they can be friends.
Yeah.
They can be softened, but, like, Crocodile and even Arlong, I don't see them coming back and it's like shaking hands with anyone. Like they can be on the right side of a fight. I could even hypothetically see Doflamingo being on the right side of the fight in the future, because he obviously doesn't like the other celestial dragons. You know what I mean? So people can be on the right side of the fight. And for example, when they were running out of Impelled Down, right? There was a bunch of legit villains with them. So I'm not saying they can't be on the hero's side, given a twisted, plot line that eventually
we'll probably see a lot of that as things.
But their hearts very rarely change. So even as Crocodile's running with them outside of Impel Down, he doesn't look down at Luffy and be like, "Hey, Luffy, sorry about that. I know the error of my ways." Right? He's a douche. He's a dick.
Yeah, I guess Bon Clay may be one of the few examples of that.
But even then, I don't really think
he does apologize.
Was that evil.
Yeah, Bon Clay wasn't that evil before.
No, he wasn't. I agree. But he does apologize. He is actually one of the people who said, "I saw the error of my ways and I apologize."
He does. And again, like, we all love the story. The story does have crazy ups and downs. It's not that simple. Usopp also had a fight with Luffy, and like there was no one in the wrong. But you know what I mean? But there was apologies and there was changes of feelings.
Yeah. You are right. People like
Arlong the heart, like even when Sanji was fighting Bon Clay, like you didn't get the feeling like, "Ooh, this is a dastardly villain." Like you kind of did get that with Mr. One, right? Like when Zoro was fighting him, he's like, "This is a villain." But my point is, Kuzan is a good guy at heart, right? But with like letting Robin live and like helping her through some stuff, like he's a good guy. And by the way, he would have been the like good positive future for the Marines had he won. Unfortunately, douchebag Akainu won, right? So I see his heart staying decent, right, as it moves forward. Yes. What was my overall point?
Something about Kuzan being cool and that he was a good character and
that he is Pirate King level strong.
Oh yes.
Oh yes, right.
That was the main point. So like he's the whole point was talking about his strength level. So he lost to Akainu, which is why he's like, I'm not going to keep working for this corrupt, like especially guy. And again, who knows how he even lost. He could have won that fight and then shaken hands with Akainu. And then as they're walking back, Akainu does something and hurts him. Right.
Yeah.
And he's just now so disgusted at the system and the lies and the cheating and stealing and all that he is frustrated, and he's out there not making things easy for the Marines in the world. But make no mistake, like he's freaking Akainu level powerful. This guy can walk up next to almost anyone in the universe, wave his hand, and they're done. You know what I mean? Like, so
I mean,
anyone power scaling him down, I'm just saying, is crazy. You're crazy. Like he can take out literally almost anyone with a punch.
I agree with you. At least in the anime, the first like few episodes we see of him, I remember that's what you're supposed to leave with. Not only does he freeze Luffy and really just eviscerate the crew quick, not unsurprising given the time and everything. Him freezing the entire ocean over is like this. Yeah, supposed to be this like, oh shit, this is like the next level of. This is beyond like anything we've seen.
Yeah. Yeah, so overkill that no one's even close. But
he did
to
it.
This.
It was a charitable thing that he was doing then, also for Tonjit, I believe. I think people who, especially the manga for that, is just wonderful, and people don't give it enough credit. But particularly because of Kuzan, I could talk about Kuzan all day, so I'm gonna. I'll put the Kuzan conversation to bed. He's strong. He's badass.
Just a moment ago, we were like, "Yo, those power scalers," and then now let's talk for 20 minutes about how Aokiji is scientifically stronger than.
Well, again,
you know what? I guess we did undermine our own argument.
No, not really. Because here, I'll save it because it still does come down to writing, right? So, I think that you are supposed to get that feeling, that aura of Kuzan when he walks in an area. If you're not getting that feeling that a character of that level has walked in the room, then I think you've misinterpreted the character.
But, power in One Piece is the oh fuck meter.
Yes, that's absolutely true.
But on the other hand, could he lose to literally anyone? Yes, literally anyone. He could fight, hypothetically, Chopper, and if you write the story so that Chopper does something immensely creative,
that sounds awesome.
He gets Kuzan to breathe in some dust, which is actually a powder, which makes Kuzan suddenly sick to the cold weather. You know what I mean? Like you can write it.
Oh no, an Amiudake mushroom. How did that get in there?
anything can happen.
Separates
with
the H2O in his ice.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I like that. Now I kind of want to see that.
So we've come up with two kind of realistic fight.
You're absolutely right. Everyone, even Gaimon, could potentially beat Kuzan. I want to see that one written, because that would take a lot of work.
No, you know what though? I wouldn't be surprised. Think about how many characters there are in One Piece, and how Oda does like returning to comedy as much as he can.
Yes.
I would almost say with a certainty, during the final war, you'll get your dead serious, super cool Zoro fights and a bunch of fights, so don't worry. But with all these characters, he's going to do a couple jokes like that. All of a sudden, little ridiculous clownish characters standing over like some
Buggy.
really kind of strong captain or something like that. And everyone's like, what is this?
Buggy is going to have that moment.
Totally. Buggy, totally. But even then, shocking stuff like, I don't know about Gaimon, but like very silly stuff. Yeah.
I'm like trying to think of who Buggy could accidentally beat that's like insanely powerful.
No, you know
Sakazuki would be my ideal answer there, because that would be just
that would be awesome. And by the way, I wouldn't count that out at all, because Buggy has been literally in the series the entire time, and Oda obviously not only doesn't want to get rid of him, but like keeps bringing him back into the story in important ways, and so
growing him in some oddly emotional ways,
end game. He's gonna have a scene or two that's crazy. As a reader and watcher, I am legitimately worried he becomes king of the pirates, and that will hurt me a little bit. I know there's a lot of Buggy fans out there, and then and the ending is Luffy's super pissed that he got the title and not him.
I could
and
totally
it's a joke. Yeah, it's a slapstick humor joke, and Luffy's punching him in the head.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I wanted that. Or like somehow after Luffy's like, I don't need this, and then Buggy gets it and becomes king of the pirates. Like that would kill me a little bit inside.
Well,
it's a good joke.
It is,
but
it still depends how it's written, though. I always, delivery is super important. Like, you say you don't want something, but then all of a sudden, if it's spectacularly written, you go, you know what? You got to see it, because actually it works,
Yeah. All right, Henry. We'll see when Buggy's the king of the pirates at the end of the series in 10 years. Okay, so I think power scalers have gotten their just desserts.
Now we're good.
Now we're good. Thank you, Sam, for the anime recap. That I think we did.
Now, what do we think of Mihawk?
No.
Oh, no. Don't get me in trouble. That got me in trouble. I made a Mihawk comment and then hatred for a week straight.
No, we don't. Henry doesn't need more of the online vitriol. Thank you, Henry, for coming on. Is there anything that beyond One Piece that you'd like to plug or let people know about?
Not really. Just always, Henry Thurlow. Google search me, follow me. Twitter's the only place that I ever really blew up or anything. So, even if you're a Twitter follower listening to this, hey, just to up my numbers, follow me on some other stuff too. I got Instagram, and I guess Tumblr's dead now, but
it keeps kind of coming back to life.
Yeah. Anyway, see if I'm anywhere else, and give me a follow.
Just Google, use that Google. Thank you, Henry, as always. I hope we see you again soon, although maybe not for 2 minutes worth.
No, certainly not. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see when I pop up next.
Up in the air. Yep. All right. Thanks, Henry.
Thanks for having me.
See ya.
Stop from laughing every time. I hold it back.
Yeah, he was already awake. He was not sleeping this time, but okay.
Kawaii.
Hey, it's the SGS segment. What's up, everybody? This is Steven.
And this is Greg.
And Simba is here as well. I did not wake him up by clapping the way that we do to sync our clocks this time. So he's probably
funny coincidence. He woke my wife up because she was listening to the SGS. So
she heard the cat. Yeah,
it's a callback.
Yeah. So Simba's a little happier than usual, probably because he's not being disturbed from his slumber. Yeah. Anyways, SGS. This is our little segment on off weeks to talk about. Well, pretty much anything, but particularly to go over the manga with Greg here and get his thoughts and feedback, and we kind of bounce ideas off of each other and whatnot. And we do have a few little fan questions, but we did not put out the call. We didn't put out the SGS signal the way that we normally do, which I'll try to remember next time.
Simbat signal.
Yeah, not the bat signal. It's the Simbat signal. Okay, there we go. That's good. I can work with that. Yeah. So I guess we'll do the catch up. How has Fukui been? Have there been any more disasters? Or I heard I saw that there was another earthquake, a smaller one last night or yesterday.
Oh, really?
Okay. All right. I guess it didn't reach you.
No idea.
Okay.
Well. Here's the thing: is we're constantly having earthquakes, and of course much worse in Ishikawa. I mean, but by this point we really can't feel them down in Fukui. But after you have a big one like that, the aftershocks are a real thing.
Yeah.
And it's not quote unquote as dangerous unless you have like an epic scale earthquake, but it is certainly unsettling. And it's especially after something like that. For us, every night they were almost timely. We'd be like settling down for the night, and the room would be like, and you'd be like, "Oh, there it was." Okay, turn on the TV, and there's NHK. There was an earthquake. Thank you.
Yep.
Just like you see in your old Dragon Ball videos.
Yeah.
Your old fan subbed VHSs. Yes.
I think that is probably how the majority of people who are aware of Japan's, automated earthquake announcements on TV have heard of that because of seeing, the recordings of anime and whatnot.
Yep.
It's quite a technical marvel.
It is. It's quite impressive, honestly. But
well, that's good.
Yeah, things are good over here. How about over there?
We are having
you have a football game, I hear.
Oh yeah, there will be a football game this weekend. We're getting the effects of the atmospheric river. I'm not sure if that's a term that gets used anywhere else, but it is a thing on the West Coast where we get certain types of storms where it's like the cold front is blowing down from Alaska, and there's some sort of movement from the south with the tropical air, and then they collide, and it's just a giant rainstorm that just kind of sits over areas. And we were basically dry for the entire month of December, and now we've hit almost our average yearly total just from the last like 2 weeks or so. So it was pretty exciting, but everything is pretty much fine now.
All right. Any rivers down the street or anything like that, or?
No. Actually, I live very close to the. It's funny. I live in some foothill type areas, so you would think, okay, well, maybe mudslides or something like that would be a concern, or just back up in general. But I'm not sure if it's because we live right next to the interstate, but I feel like they always make sure that the drainage systems around there are well kept, because they don't want standing water on the freeway or anything like that. So, we've never really had an issue with getting backed up.
#blessed. There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I guess in other news, which I'm sure you probably saw people talking about, we're doing Wanted. We're finally getting through it.
Oh, really? I had no. Yeah. No, I didn't know this.
Oh, you didn't see that?
No.
Oh,
that's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we obviously, yes, we did the Monsters one shot a couple weeks back for the video, the animated version of that, and then they just said, all right, well, we're 1/5 of the way there. Let's just do the rest of the book and put it out finally. So that's what I've been busy working on lately. and it's really interesting because I was noticing this is like the type of really like relatively insignificant detail that I can't help but notice because I have to work on it, and that is so when you look at his old when you compare his one shots prior to One Piece to particularly the early going of One Piece, the East Blue saga and whatnot. I mean, obviously, yes, you notice that the art is more amateurish. In fact, the titular Wanted story, which I believe is the oldest of all of those, the Wild West one, that one is almost like you can almost see like the ballpoint pen and the lined paper type of like, you know, it looks like it was drawn by a teenager. And I don't know if you would you agree with that or?
Yes, it's a very different line. It's a distinctive line style from almost everything else.
And but what was really interesting to me is that like I associate, particularly when I took over with Viz, so this is like, you know, post time skip era, I like one of the things that I really notice is that in the later parts of the story, every arc is, you know, it's set in a country or a city or some setting where there's a lot of innocent people and there's a lot of crowd scenes. And so when you're working with the text, there's always this like rock, yeah, wah, just constant sound effects in just about every panel. It's just you know, this constant refrain, and you don't really get as much of that in the early parts of the story. And I'm not sure if that was because he wasn't really doing the large scale stories yet, or if maybe oh gosh, who was his first editor again?
Before Asada, or because there was one before Asada.
There was one before, yeah. Maybe one or both of them. Maybe they had like told him like, you know, maybe you don't need as many of these or something, or you know, if he it just wasn't working himself up to that. But you don't see as much of that kind of overdone, like just tons and tons of sound effects of crowd noise and whatnot. And that's part of, I think, what makes the art seem a little bit cleaner as well, is because you just don't have, you know, all these cramped little panels with sound effects just all over them. But if you go back and look at some of these one shots that you'll see in Wanted, there they are. You know, they're just like even more than I think in the current stage of One Piece. And so it was really interesting to see like, oh, this is just something he's been doing like his entire life, as far as like how he likes to do sound effects, all these, you know, Gaia and you know, all of his talking and shouting sound effects. And so that I found quite interesting. It doesn't make as much of a difference as compared to like the storytelling and the characterization, but you know, just talking about his creative process, I found that to be, you know, kind of not startling, but it was like, oh wow, that's really interesting. I would not have guessed that I would see that. But
I agree with that. And you look at some of the crowd scenes, and they're, despite the art being for Oda somewhat rudimentary, the detail that he puts into the crowd scenes is really impressive, particularly in the present from, what is it, the Gift of the Future or something?
Present from God from the Future.
From God from the Future, yeah. The crowds in there are just remarkable. The little details that he puts in, the secrets, the allusions to other series and things that he puts in are something else. And it's stuff that he used to do in One Piece, like all the time. Not so much anymore. He just kind of draws generic characters most of the time, but not these days. But what hit me, I think, most of all in the early work is the and maybe you can you imagine you're wrestling with this right now, is the speech is very rough, not in the sense that it sounds amateurish. I mean, part of that's in there, but it's like instead of like, you know, I'll send you flying, or like, you know, I'll get you. It's like, I'll frigging murder you, except it's not frigging. Like, it's really, really like rough speak. I don't know if you've noticed that or not, but that did stand out to me at the time. Like, even his heroes say stuff
right.
like, I'll murder you.
Yeah, I think that's definitely, like, you could see the kind of the 80s influence of probably what the cool manga was that he was reading when he was a kid, that kind of formed his initial instincts for, you know, for manga dialogue. And then that's something that he definitely refines a lot over the course of One Piece.
Yeah. Because even Luffy, you know, I think he tells Buggy and maybe Kuro that, like, I'll kill you. But
yeah,
that quickly goes away.
Yeah. I've been reading. I've been doing a daily, you know, reread of One Piece. Started at the beginning of the year, and I'm actually just in Little Garden now, which is very timely for reasons we'll get into in a little bit. But I was kind of looking out for stuff like that, and that was also kind of one of the shocking things of that fight scene where at Whiskey Peak where Luffy, you know, mistakenly goes after Zoro for supposedly you know, cutting up all the people who fed them. And, you know, Zoro's like, dude, are you trying to kill me? And he's like, yeah, die, shit. And it's like, whoa, yeah, I don't think Oda would write that today. I think that was something he kind of ironed out of his characterization for the heroes.
There's also something interesting. I want to kind of talk to you about this. In that scene in Whiskey Peak, just because I've been reading through, you know, parts of that myself recently. I went back to confirm something about Zoro speaking about the individuals there, the Baroque Works lower agents, and I think both Luffy and I think it's I forgot who it is specifically. Sorry, but definitely, no, it's Luffy and Zoro. Sorry, say the word kiru, as in like
to cut,
literally to cut, used in the form of a person, usually to kill.
Right.
But what I've been wondering about is, and I've been wondering this for years, is they don't use the term specifically kill. They do use this kiru. And can that be interpreted as how we might say cut down? Because if you say you cut someone down, it can mean that you killed them, or it can mean that you simply you disabled them, you made them unable to react or whatever.
Right.
Which do you think it is? Because, like, he says, you kiru'd all of them, right? Like you cut all of them down. And we see a scene where Luffy is, you know, walking by one of them, and he picks him up, and he's still talking, right? And he says, "Who did this to you?" And he's like, "The guy that was with you."
Right.
What do you think? Did Zoro murk all of them, or what do you think?
I think that definitely falls into the classic sort of, you know, One Piece gray area of it's a convenient tool that Oda has to imply either a fatal blow or something that should be fatal, without having to literally state the word kill or, you know, murder or something, you know, that is final. And so I do think you said cut down. I think that's pretty much the perfect one-to-one, you know, version of that, where, like, yeah, you know, the realistic, you know, the sort of the logical conclusion is like, oh, that probably should be fatal, but this is One Piece, and, you know, he can definitely choose to keep any character alive that he wants to, and then, you know, he can point back at the text and say, yeah, but I didn't say he killed them. I said, you know, he cut them down. So yeah, I don't know. As far as, like, you know, did they die or not? I think that's like a, you know, that's a Schrodinger's cat sort of scenario where, you know, either they did or they didn't, but we will never know because the story is not really focused on that.
Unless Mr. Beans comes back, in which case, then we'll probably have our confirmation.
Yeah.
The kid with the crocodile.
The kid, yeah. With the did he have the pepper shaker, or was that the nun? I forget.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I think it was him.
Okay.
But yeah. Yeah, interesting.
Okay.
Interesting.
All right.
Stuff.
Well, I'm glad I got to pick your brain on that. That was something I've been wondering about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see. Is there anything else about Wanted? Yeah, I don't know. I think they did put out a release date. It's going to be late in the year. I think it might be November or something like that. But yeah, look forward to that. To complete your Eiichiro Oda collections, folks. I know a lot of people have already gone out of their way to over the years to get either the Japanese version. I know Alex said that he has the the tankobon for Wanted, and some people probably have like the European language versions, but we will finally get an English one. So very excited about that.
Interesting. I don't know, bit of trivia, I guess. The main characters of Wanted, the gunslinger, I believe, if I remember the roles correctly, and the ghost.
Yes.
They appear in the ending credits of, it's either the first or the second One Piece movie. I think it might be the first.
Huh.
But there's a little scene with them hidden in there.
Wow.
And also, and this is really neither here nor there, but also in those same end credits, there's the Lord of Destruction, who Oda liked to draw in, I think, around volume 11 or so. He hit him in the series a couple times and in Logetown, because that was the year that Nostradamus predicted that the Lord of Destruction would,
right,
in 2001 or something like that.
The guy with the little like bobble thing on his head.
He looks super derpy. Yeah, he has a little pointed nose, and he's driving a bus in one scene. But he's also hidden in those end credits on the bottom of Usopp's snowboard.
Wow.
So that means nothing, but there it is.
That's a cool, like that's a level of dedication to like Easter egg in jokes that I would not have expected. So that's cool. I hope someday I'll have to go and look that up and try to catch those. Very neat. All right. Well, we've talked about some very old material. Let's talk about some very new material. We got 3 chapters that unfortunately I did not type up a little summary of the last 3, but I think they're all relatively fresh in the memory. That is 1104. Thank You, Daddy, 1105, which I translated as The Height of Folly, and 1106, On Your Side. And yeah, these are covering basically from Kuma's rather bracing and triumphant punch on Saturn all the way through the arrival of Dory and Brogy on Egghead.
Spoilers, Stephen, come on. I mean, geez, you got to state that up front.
That's well, I told you we were going to talk about Little Garden here, so.
Thank you very much for those translations, because I think they're chef's kiss. Funny story, to me at least. So we ended kind of. Was it the year? I'm all messed up with time frame, but I think we ended the year, or began the year, with the right about the punch, right? Was that our early January issue? Okay. And so I was talking with the folks at work about it, and they're like, "What do you think? Is he going to get hit? Is he going to do this?" And I was like, "I don't know what's going to happen, but all I can tell you is it's definitely going to start with the flashback." And they're like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah. Before every punch, especially when he ends on that, he's not going to just start the chapter with a punch. I don't know if he's holding back that kind of framing or that kind of depiction for some special chapter in the future, but it's just something that he doesn't do. And we're going to have a punch that's going to basically, a flashback that's going to summarize everything that's behind the meaning and the feeling of that punch. And bam, when I saw it, I was so happy. Just, yes, this is exactly what I thought was going to happen. So point for me, point for Gryffindor, point for Greg Dor.
Yeah, 10 points. He that's definitely true. I don't think Oda, especially if it's a climactic scene like the punch. I think some artists would definitely be fine with doing a construction of like, all right, we're going to end the last chapter where he's almost about to punch him, and then like the first page of the next chapter he's going to punch him, like it's a seamless 1-2 thing. But I agree, I don't think that's Oda's style to just go in completely dry without setting it up in this chapter, and that's why you have the extra page or two of just the little playing the hits to sum up everything that you saw in Kuma's past, so that that you're reminded exactly what's going into that fist, it works very well.
Oh, and this talk about pictures you can hear when that fist lands in the face. It's kind of hard. He punches him so hard, it's hard to tell what's going on in the face a little bit there, because he's got like the eyebrow that's bulging out, and the nose, and it's just boom. Love it. Great attack, and sends him, literally he does a Luffy and sends him flying. So
yeah, of course, Oda just has to make sure that this is, even as he's hitting him, it's not the end, because you get the Giro where like Saturn is glaring back at him, like that's not an eye that is completely white from being knocked unconscious. Like this is just a temporary setback on Saturn, but we pretty much knew that was going to be the case anyways.
Yeah, didn't feel good. He's probably going to feel in the morning, but he's still kicking. And this hug here is just
yeah.
This I got a lot of calls from friends who are into the series, who are parents now, and they were just like, oh, this wrecked me. I was just destroyed. And her being the who she really is with him is beautiful as well.
Yeah,
age-wise.
Right. Yes, this is the real Bonnie for sure.
And then that the depiction of the poor town collapsing in on itself after the impact. That's going to look great in the animation. I really do think that's a cool effect, because he punches him through, and he punches him so fast that he actually gets to go down to Bonnie, pick her up, have a little chat with her, and then before they say what's poignant, then the city collapses in on itself. It's it's almost like the ultimate version of the samurai, slicing the the bamboo practice thing, and walking away, and people are like, what did he do? He didn't attack it. Yeah. He falls over. He strikes the guy, walks over, picks her up, hugs her, talks with her, and then the town falls over. Lovely. And then part of that is what's his name? Saturn getting back up.
Yes.
And showing that he's got a bloody nose, but he's still kicking. And
what did you make of this effect of his his arm?
You got to me first. I was going to ask you that.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, I don't know if like he didn't attack his arm, right? Are we supposed to believe that's the regeneration going on? Or is that?
Yeah, I thought so.
I think so too. That's how it hit me. but I don't know if we're supposed to get that there's something else. It just hit me as the regeneration, but
yeah. Now that you mention it, yeah, I'm not sure. I had just assumed. Well, I mean, you can see in the previous panel, the full body one, that his arm is kind of melty.
His arm
there.
off.
Yeah,
he loses.
It's just that. Yeah, usually you would expect him to kind of show or make a show of like this, maiming happened in the blood, but he just punches him. So
how the hell? And his arm is fine there. So are we just supposed to assume that in falling through the city, that he lost his arm in that?
He got his arm pinched and ripped off or something like that.
So he gets, because it's just weird with all the smoke and everything. He's going, honestly, Oda's art style is squiggly enough as is. With all these haoris and things going on, it's like
all the extra effects and things.
It's like Wiggle World, and he's kind of going JoJo here, so it's getting hard to tell what's going on. Okay, so that's his arm regenerating, which we know he can do, but I guess we didn't have any confirmation to what extent he was able to regenerate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's not just cuts; it's entire limbs.
Yeah, it's still. I mean, just the way this looks and everything. He's even doing like the Piccolo, like squiggle, like the evil squiggle lines. Yes. So, that seems to me like, okay, yeah, this is definitely some, demonic power, part of his, probably part of his devil fruit ability.
I don't know at this point. Okay, so it would seem to be devil fruit, yes.
Right.
But
it stands to reason.
If there's so much weird, like there's little tiny pieces that don't fit in here, but like, what if he has multiple devil fruit powers, multiple manufactured devil fruit powers, and if so, is that part of what Blackbeard is? Was Blackbeard similar to Bonnie? Is he the result of experiments for obtaining multiple devil fruit powers at once? In which case, do people like Saturn have multiple abilities? Or is it just something that comes naturally to the people of where he's from if he's not from this planet? I mean, that would make quite the Piccolo comparison apt, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's exciting to speculate on the multiple plan, and there are obviously there are certain details that we've seen in the story that would support that possibility. I also don't know if it's like, oh man, Oda, do you have enough time to tell a story that also includes, multiple planets of people warring over the fate of the world? It's a big, very big scope, but I don't know.
I think he can do it. I think he's going to do it.
Okay.
But it's not going to be anywhere near as short as he thinks it will be.
No, it won't.
I think you will be provided work for One Piece for a very long time. Still.
Yep.
And then we have, for me, this is what stood out in the chapter is Kizaru kind of attacking here, and people were kind of wondering about which side he stands on, rightfully so, because some people were very keen to suggest like, oh, maybe he's the one that fed Luffy the food. I forget if we discussed that or not last time, but that was something I was very interested in myself, and wrote a great deal of it and had all of it cut by the editor for hashtag reasons. Yeah. But here we see him doing his job as he should be doing. I mean, whether we like it or not, he is a Marine and they are pirates, and we see him hindering them without question. And is this the one we? No. Okay, this is not the one we end on that. But I think you mentioned something to me about this chapter, and I think it was this chapter, and you were like, to the extent of the food incident. Mm-hmm. Didn't you say something to me like, "Oh, I think they hid the fact that he did it in this chapter," or something like that? Was this the one?
I don't know if that was me.
It was definitely you. It was definitely
it
you.
was me. Okay, yeah. I said something. I don't recall. Yeah,
it was this chapter and possibly the next, but okay, then maybe we'll get to it in the next chapter. But I do love the fact that Oda keeps Kizaru in his justice until he declares that he's changing his justice or he's taken a side. I do love that he keeps it up, especially in front of Saturn. And to what purposes? I think it's just because he's similar to Garp and he feels the futility of going up against these powers. But he's certainly feeling it in his heart as he ends the chapter with this great thing about I should have worn
darker sunglasses.
Darker sunglasses. Oh, what a cool line, Oda.
It's a very much a movie line. Interesting. No, actually, I could reveal this here. I'm not sure if they actually did update the English version, but we did get a note a week or two later about right in the corner panel here with Vegapunk, where he's kind of accusing, he says you're a sad man, Kizaru. They actually got one of the kanji wrong here, and so they sent us a note about what it should be reprinted as and how that would affect the line. And it's in this it's in the very corner line here where Vegapunk says kokoro ga motanka, which as presented in the released chapter looks like you can't, it's literally like you can't hold a heart, or and I said, I think I translated that as like, have you no heart? Because it is in response to Kizaru saying, all right, well, we got Kuma here, so everyone, all the players are present, so let's just get this over with. And so that, it seems to dovetail nicely with that. Like, oh, okay, so you just want to get this, you just want to get to fighting. That's what a sad man you are, Kizaru. However, apparently what it was supposed to be was, like it's a different version of the kanji that it's your heart can't take it, or in other words, like you didn't have the you can't, it's an awkward situation for you, or it's a difficult situation for you, and you're cracking under the pressure or something like that. And so I suggested an alternate version of that to take. I'm not sure if they uploaded that or if that's just going to be saved for the tankobon, because that will be different in the Japanese release of the tankobon.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow. An interesting thing. Mm-hmm.
Jeez.
I'm not sure how much that really changes the scene or anything like that. It's a fairly subtle change, but that it was an interesting thing, I think, to bring up at this point.
The details that they go over. Oh my god.
Yeah. Yep. Shall we move to the next chapter?
Yeah.
05. Yeah.
Not my favorite chapter.
This was the shorty. This was 13 pages.
Not my favorite chapter. I don't hate it. But it's just it's a very by the numbers, moving people into position.
Yeah.
Chapter for me as a reader, and I came away with seeing Kizaru, or is it Kizaru? It is Kizaru, right? Yeah. Seeing Kizaru doing his job is very cool, because it's just exciting to see both sides of him. In conflict and in action, and seeing how far he'll push it. That's what's interesting. How far will he go in one direction or the other? And that's always exciting. as reading these chapters with him, because I don't know where to follow him. I also do like when this feels like a Steve Yurko comment, but like when he's slicing the tube and thereby the rocket. I do like how the cut bit of the rocket just bursts out of the panel there.
Yeah.
It's fourth wall breaking. I do like that.
That's a really cool panel.
I don't know why they decided to do that. It definitely gives it a level of impact. It feels a little bit cartoony, like almost like a Nika thing, but I just think it's cool. It's a nice stylistic choice.
It is cool. I definitely commented at the time that like it feels like it almost feels like deja vu, because he was just doing this on the tank going down, from the lab down to the city where he slashed the vehicle and then everybody fell down, and now they're trying to go back up and he's slashing it again. And so it does there's definitely kind of like, what, we're doing this again, kind of a feel to it. But I mean, I understand, it's a dramatic manga. You need to have drama, and so you can't just have Kizaru like taking out characters. He has to play a slightly more annoying role of just kind of sabotaging things. But it definitely, combined with the very short chapter, and as you said, the very obvious moving pieces around feeling, it made for a slightly less satisfying read, at least on its own. I think it'll be whatever in volume form.
Oh yeah, absolutely. In volume form, this is fine. Strictly on a week to week basis, this is one of those. This is one of the chapters that makes week to week hurt. But luckily they're few and far between in One Piece, but they do exist. Mm-hmm. What do you make of Brook taking the Sunny down? And this is entirely played off for comedic effect, but it does have a story relevance and importance, or at least it will. Why do you think he was unable to make it stop? Is it so that he couldn't stop by and be involved in the action at all? To me, that's what it rings. But it sounds like he's trying to cover his base with this and cover a couple things, get a few things done at once with this comedy.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, he's Oda is serving he's serving the purpose of moving logistically. He's obviously moving the Sunny, and I think he probably knows that without Frankie or the giant robot, that he needs a mechanism, and I think he just thinks that it would be too. I mean, it is already very convenient, but it would be too convenient if Brook could both create a path of ice and also have it work perfectly. So maybe he decided, well, it's kind of like you're driving on the ice in Mario Kart or something, where like, it's going to be slippery. There's going to be some hijinks involved, and then he can play it off for laughs that Brook wasn't thinking that far ahead. But I don't know. You're thinking that maybe like the Sunny will have a slip somewhere and down the line that will add a little bit extra chaos, or? Yeah,
no. I'm thinking like, because he can't stop it, right? Like it would be convenient to the action if they could bring it exactly where they wanted to bring it.
Right.
And Brook could be involved in the action, right? Because he could be a helper, and that goes against everything that Oda needs to do. Because what he needs to do is have everybody as separate as possible, but working towards a similar goal. So in the, oh my God, I can't stop it, where are the brakes? It's funny, and that helps make it entertaining. But what purpose does that serve in the story? Does it mean that Sunny simply gets all the way to the ocean, so that it's not like, all right, we brought it down to this point, to point A, now we get off and we assist everyone? In this way, it's simply, oh my God, I can't stop it. It's going all the way to the sea, and Brook can't be involved in the action, and neither can Lilith. So that just removes two players that Oda would otherwise have to balance in the action. I think that's more along the lines of what it is. And because it's a convenience, Oda's able to play it off as a joke, and it works to his advantage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it could also this is maybe a longer shot, but when you think of sort of comedic chaos scenes like when they arrive at Arlong Park or arrive at the area and they crash into the shore and then fly, all the way over. Like maybe when the Sunny does get to their destination and it's other people are showing up there, and then all of a sudden the ship is doing something unexpected because they can't stop it, and that leads to some other wilder, less predictable outcome or something like that.
Yeah,
that's a possibility. I think that's less likely, but we'll see.
I agree. Anything is open. I question all hijinks. If there's hijinks in the series at this point, I question, okay, what is the point? Is this funny because it's funny, or is this something that can be relevant to the plot later?
Yeah.
I'm very conspiracy theorist about hijinks now. And then I guess we have this heartbreaking scene of Vegapunk basically accepting the fact that Egghead is finished. Yeah,
that was really. I mean, for something that just kind of you blink and you miss it. It's just these two little panels, but I thought that was a really affecting framing of the action there with him just kind of on his knees in front of the destruction of the city.
It's really sad.
Yeah,
that's so. I mean, just being at this point in life, not like I'm as old as him, but just building up, what you have and trying to, build up a family and this and that, and just seeing all of that effort, all of that work just come crashing down is just heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I guess at this point our characters are in position, and there's just a little bit of a hint here about the fact that the ship that was sent off, that Vegapunk sent off, that with the survivors of Egghead, evidently that was a failure, and something took out the marine gunship, the warship. So what could have possibly done that?
Mm-hmm. Now, do you remember? I know it was only a week or two ago, but do you remember your thoughts on? Okay, so who was it that intercepted the marine ship, helped the Egghead ship escape, and is now on their way to Egghead? What was your guess?
Oh man, I do you want my honest answer?
Yeah, I'll tell you mine too. Yeah.
Okay, my honest answer is I don't care, because Oda can make it be anybody he wants.
So you just punted on it. You're just like, I'm not even going to bother.
I honestly didn't even bother. I saw things online. Honestly, I didn't even know it was a thing until I saw a couple of things online. Like you see fire there. It's definitely the revolutionaries. And it's just like, oh, well, okay, but there's probably going to be fire if you take
yeah.
And people are like, there's wind, so there's this.
This dragon, yeah.
And I can't be bothered, because it could be literally anyone that he wants to pull in. My big idea for escape was Uruj, taking them through the sky. And that seems to have gone bye-bye. It wasn't like some big complex theory I had, but it was just like it would be a nice way to bring us into the next supernova.
Yeah.
But no, that was not to be. And this kind of put the nail in that for me, because I was like, okay, well, if Aruj is here, then it would only be poignant if it was from the sky. So it's not Aruj. I guess that's what I took at. It's not Aruj.
Yeah, cross one of the 100 options off the list.
And how about you?
Yeah, I thought so. I went in very confidently saying, okay, well, either it's going to be the Grand Fleet, the Straw Hat Grand Fleet, or the Revolutionaries, or my dark horse pick was like maybe maybe it's going to turn out to be, Marco or one of the other Whitebeard remnants where, they heard what was happening and they decided to, to pick a side or to throw their lot into, their rings. There's some allied or friendly or potential ally, coming to the rescue. And yeah, I definitely did not think of the giants, which is telling, because we did see them not that long ago. It was not that many chapters ago that we saw them again for the first time since Little Garden, pretty much. And and yet I did not anticipate that.
This is super funny because do you remember Oda's year-end comment?
Oh gosh, no, I don't. I don't remember the details of it now.
Okay, so I think he had like 2 or 3 like hype,
little hints,
bits for plants for the next year, and like one of them was like, so what do you think about the next island? Do you think they'll go there? He's like, I thought of a way for them not to go there, but I mean, and he just kind of left it like that.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, here's your answer, folks. Oda delivers. I can't imagine at this point not taking us to Elbaf. It would be absurd and a betrayal on Oda's part. So it does seem like like our next destination, as many have hoped for many, many years, the Straw Hats included. And, I did wonder if, because, I think it's a Marine ship, and if a Marine ship is taken out, we instantly think, oh, people who want to help us. I did think, what if Blackbeard appears?
Right.
But I see more of a Blackbeard meeting, a great meeting with Blackbeard occurring in Elbaf, and I've been on that. The big setup for the final battle occurring at Elbaf. I do believe that Blackbeard in all his glory needs to show up there, which is why I was like, because this is such a world incident, right? Like we've been told that this is one of the great world incidents. Like it's not a scandal, but it's a great happening, and Blackbeard being here would definitely contribute to that. But himself being here, I don't know if that exactly fits into my idea of how Oda would best depict their Luffy and his meeting,
right,
in this arc. So
yeah, I mean, if Blackbeard is going to have a pivotal role in Elbaf as well, like, yeah, why, if he shows up here, then what is he just going to be like tagging along at their heels like the entire time that they're moving to Elbaf, and then continues to show up there? It doesn't seem, it's not as clean, I think.
No, not at all.
As just having him show up in Elbaf.
But that's at least the crew in my mind was one idea that popped in there, but I still, I do like the giants. That was definitely, for me, out of left field. To the person who made the random call on the internet, whoever you are, if you're out there, I'm sure you are, because
they are,
One Piece has 1 million fans. Congratulations. But this honestly did not interest me. Just because I was like,
it could be anybody.
It could be anybody. And there, by this point, Oda's bright enough to know not to put hints in there. I don't think there are any hints besides the fact that giants are big and the warships are big. I don't think there's any hint that it's specifically them.
Yeah, I mean, he fooled me for sure. So, job well done.
Yes. But I guess we're getting ahead of ourselves there, because that's only revealed in the next chapter, which has this what is it, the La Costa T-shirt?
Yeah,
people had fun with this one, didn't they?
They did. This one. Yeah. There was a lot of fan art of Crocodile the character dressed up like this.
Yeah.
since
with Robin.
With
good.
Robin, yeah,
looking good, Croc. Which would never happen. All right, the return of Nika as Luffy is full and digests all of his food.
Yep.
And I guess,
is that the first time we've ever seen a depiction of, in like a single panel of like, here you go, snap, just like the instant digestion process? Because I feel like it's always been like between a couple panels, or like, Luffy runs off and then he runs back and he's skinny again.
I feel like there have been a couple where he just goes hurt and he's normal again, but
Okay.
maybe it might be at first for this Dokun, excuse me, Dokun, boom, boom, sound effect, boom. But yeah, we're falling, and then we get, I don't know, I'll just kind of run through this because I'm literally scrolling through the chapter as I read this, but I guess we'll come to the point that what is the big reveal? The big reveal is, actually, is it? No,
the security back door.
The security back door only is revealed at the end after he stabbed. Okay, so the big twist is, I don't know, at least for me it was a twist, was Vegapunk. Things not looking too good for him.
Mm-hmm.
He gets attacked.
Yeah.
And yeah. What do you think? What do you think about
like, is he going to die?
If Oda wanted to make this non-lethal, he could. It's not like through the exact center of his chest.
Mm-hmm.
It does not look good to me. But what about you?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have gotten impaled in the series and lived to tell the tale. So my first thought when I saw that wasn't like, oh, he's dead. Oh no, that's the end of Vegapunk. And I'm still, I would say I'm still skeptical that he would die. But I mean, you can tell a lot of interesting story when you have this very strange setup of, a man who has split his personality into 6 different bodies. There's a lot of interesting stories you can tell about what happens if that man is no longer around, what happens to the other ones, how do they react to that. So he could do some interesting things with it. But I'm still conditioned by One Piece to just assume that unless there's a real clear finality particularly to a sacrificial action, I just kind of expect, and even then, in that case, Pell, for example, I just sort of expect like, oh, they'll probably be fine.
Interesting. I disagree.
But, you disagree? Okay.
I disagree.
Yeah, what are your thoughts?
This is, for the first time in a long time, the first panel of One Piece that I read. And when I saw it, I thought, he's gone. It's a shame. And you know me, I have not felt like that in a long, long time. I did not even feel that way for, oh God, what was his name? Yasuye?
Mm-hmm.
But it's because of how Oda handled Pedro and how Oda handled Yasuye that I felt that this is the end for Vegapunk. And there was actually, my heart sunk a little bit. Just because of how he's handled death in the past maybe 7 years or so. 7 years? Pedro? No, that's maybe 6 years. 6 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
Because Pedro is handled as being dead. Whether he is or not, it's not terribly important at this point. Does he have some wiggle room? Yes. But the important thing is the characters feel that he is dead. And Oda didn't wink at the camera.
Right, exactly.
And with a character like Yasue, who is a completely innocent character. I mean, 100% innocent, an amazing character who sacrificed so much, and died, and couldn't be with his adopted daughter to see the resolution. Oh, that's heartbreaking. But because he committed to those, that made me feel as if this is the end for Vegapunk. To a certain degree. What does the end of Vegapunk even mean? Like you said, he is divvied up, amongst the different bodies. We also have Shaka was shot in the head, but I believe, unless I'm incorrect, like Atlas was messed up too, right?
Atlas, went and got their replacement part or whatever it was that they did to fix her up.
Right. And I don't think, like we haven't touched on the fact of Shaka. Like nobody said like it's a shame that Shaka is gone,
right,
to this point. So as far as we know, Shaka is somewhere out there doing something. So Shaka could be revealed, and that's where we could get a face reveal for Shaka, as in, I am the new Vegapunk, or I'm going to carry the will of Vegapunk, because I am just. And there is one more source of Vegapunk, which is literally the top of Egghead itself in Punk Records, which is conveniently shielded. Now, will that shield hold through everything?
Right.
I can't say for sure, but there is the point made that it's within a shell. If that shell, even if that were to fall, it's basically protected in that dome. And that's Vegapunk's super brain in there. That just keeps growing and growing and growing. So if we lose this body, it is sad. It's super sad. But the ideas of Vegapunk will not die. And that's what's important. And that's where I think Oda gets a little bit of leeway, because even though the old man will not get to see his dream come to fruition, the ideas of Vegapunk will be able to realize it. And that is it's melancholy. Yeah, it's precisely. It's very One Piecey. And I think he can go that route if he so chooses without feeling cheap. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this. This is a much more, I guess, sort of unsentimental kind of author's way of looking at it, which is that Vegapunk also, in terms of what comes ahead, Vegapunk is the guy who has all the secrets. He's the perfect exposition character, because he can tell you all the stuff you want to know about, the past history. He can frame the he can give you the narrative of what's at stake here by explaining, what happened in the past and why, and all of that stuff. And it's often been the case that Oda has good reasons for wanting to delay that or to hold that off, because we're not there at that point in the story yet. Now we're getting into that point of the story where you can start to see the window for explaining the stakes and revealing a lot of the backstory stuff. And I was thinking to myself, okay, well, if he does survive, then there's really, and they escape, and they're moving on, and the urgency has kind of been removed from the situation. Then you could see well, at that point, what reason would he have to not do that? And if Oda is, if he still wants to save that for a later point, then maybe that's a reason to get Vegapunk out of the story. But as you say, we have these backups. It's not the end of Vegapunk. There are other sources that could still tell us all of that same information. So in that sense, I guess it probably doesn't matter in terms of, how do you reveal this information,
right,
to the reader and to the characters.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think you have some very good points there.
Either way, it's sad at least to see the man treated this way, after all he's done and all he's fought for.
Yes.
What a guy. Let's see.
I
think it's after that. Yeah.
I was going to say just yet another thing to add to the stack of villainous qualities of Saturn. As if Oda hasn't been clear enough, in this arc.
Yeah.
Sorry, you were saying something.
No. Sorry, I was just looking at the next big point in the chapter that I was like, right. I guess the next big point is the arrival of the ships. No. There it is. So Nika arrives, and we see the rhythm of the drums of liberation is floating through the island, and as the sound reaches the giant robo, it kind of looks like it's booting up. Flashback to November when I put up my article, Fighting with Fire. And not fighting fire with fire, fighting with fire. Okay. It seems, I'm just going to quote myself here. It seems that in the presence of Nika, that the presence of Nika has awakened the ancient construct, which leads to the intriguing question of what about Nika led to this awakening. Once again, as with Zunisha, the rhythm of Luffy's heartbeat as the drums of liberation seem to play a major role in starting up the construct. Whether or not the rhythm itself serves as a password for activation hasn't been made entirely clear yet, but given the sound effect of the construct's eyes lighting as if there were a fire, I can't help but wonder if Luffy himself as Nika is serving as the construct's power source. Back in November, seems to be completely confirmed. Here, once again, with the arrival of Nika, this thing starts to boot up. With the saying boom, this whatever Luffy. I don't know what the thing with fire is. I don't get why. I guess it has to be the quote unquote sun god because it has to do with fire. But
you mean the what is it, the eternal flame concept?
Yeah, the eternal flame concept that Vegapunk has been searching for all this time seems to be Nika. Or Nika will lead to it. But why the sun? What's Oda's thing with flames? I'm really interested in why is it with flames? I mean, if you go to the root of it, right? You look at Romance Dawn, and a lot of it goes back to Dawn because all of Luffy's attacks now are Dawn, right? The Gear 5th attacks are Dawn,
right? Yeah,
which is both his classic Dawn and also Dawn, because it's the dawn of the sun. People are talking about, we're waiting for the new dawn. This is this is the new dawn because it's the sun god is here. But why the sun god? I mean, I don't know. What do you think? Am I asking a question that shouldn't be asked? Is it just kind of a convenient thematic overarching tool that Oda can use to express freedom and light and good?
I think so. I mean, if you're thinking of it in scientific terms, like Vegapunk is with his eternal flame, the flame is a it's an exercise in energy creation. It's burning something to create heat that is power. It is it's a kinetic force that can move things and power things, and so the sun being basically the biggest thing, the biggest power source that we have, this seemingly, at least on a human time scale, seemingly infinite and endless power source. It's the easiest, I think, symbolic representation of of limitless power, and so that may be what he's as simple as that. As far as the symbology,
I keep going back to where did the initial concept of Nika as a quote unquote sun god come from? Was it something that was inexplicable to an ancient race? I mean, because that's where we tend to go, right? Was it, we explain what we couldn't explain previously as deities, as higher beings.
Right.
Is that where it was, or was there an actual like physical Nika? I really there's a lot of chicken and the egg going on about Nika and the fruit itself. Like, was Nika just the fruit user the entire time? And did that become the concept of Nika? Or did people want to be what Nika was and they created the fruit because of that, that ambition, that dream that Vegapunk described, that people wanted to realize their dreams? I don't have an answer for that at this point. But it's for me, it's one of the big mysteries of the series is like, why so much with the sun?
And he's really laying it on thick right now with like
he is
the way everybody reacts to it and stuff.
But I will say there is one reaction that is extraordinarily important here, and that is basically Bonnie making the connection between the two, and the with her eyes tearing up, because do you know what this does? And this is like Saturn must just be like, oh fuck, because this gives her power back. Because she can believe in the future where it's possible, so she can be the again, she can have the Nika mitaina mirai.
Yes, the Nika-like future. Yeah,
Nika-like future. She can use the Nika-like future again because she believes in it. She sees it and believes it. Oh my god, that's so cool. Bonnie is OP again. Great. Followed by the arrival of Dory and Brogy.
Yeah.
Stephen. Their ship is fucking huge.
Yep.
Their ship is enormous. This is actually my next column. I don't mind talking about it because it's not
cool.
I have exclusive rights or anything, but look at the marine warships. Do you remember what Mary looked like compared to the marine warships?
Right.
They look like Mary did to the marine to this. Unbelievable. There is a ship after Dressrosa, and this might actually even be worth pulling out your volume for. It's while they're having the celebration at Dressrosa, particularly the exchanging of the Sakazuki.
Is this 79 or 80?
I think it's going to be 79.
Okay.
Unless
I'll go grab him.
Unless this ends on a significantly different note. Yeah, he's still getting beat up in Dressrosa by the end of this. So, let me see if I can find the chapter. Well, maybe it is 80. I might be wrong, Stephen. I might have lied to you. It might be 80.
I grabbed them both.
You are perfect.
Okay. Yeah, because they're still fighting with Fujitora in the start of 80.
Okay, is it Rebecca? No. Here we go. This is it. It should be 800. I should have remembered that. It's literally the first 2 pages of 800. No, it's not. I lied again. No, wait. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Sorry. My eyes are failing me. I'm still in the dark here. I'm doing the SGS in the darkness of night. Look at the ships here. You can see basically all of most of the ships of the Grand Straw Hat Fleet. You can see the giant ship all the way on the right there. It's got the bones. It ain't that big.
No, it's the same as all the other ones.
Yeah. It's not that big, and maybe that's just because it's for like one giant. But like, okay, that's like a schooner for them or something, right? What is big is that one in the center, the one with the very decorative, the Valkyrie almost looking Senshu. Whose ship is that supposed to be?
Is that I would guess that's probably Orlumbus's.
You'd think, right? But it doesn't have it doesn't have a Tamago looking thing on it. I mean, that's what you would think. But his pirate symbol does not seem to line up with what's on the black flag there. You can just see like three things there, and I was like, "Is that the king's ship?" The guy who does King Punch, I forget his name.
Yeah. Elisabello.
Yeah, I don't even think he's part of the alliance, but
no.
But is that Orlumbus's?
I think
because
so.
If it is, it's huge.
I mean, he has a fleet, so.
I mean, it's huge.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really big ship. But anyway, that's like one of the other things that I was trying to compare it to. Mm-hmm. And the only other basically in my article, I was trying to go through whose ship is that? Like, do we know this? Do we know this giant ship, or is this a brand new ship that's been built? Mm-hmm. And I tried to go through the previous ones. I went through that one, of course, and I was like, no way, that's way too tiny. And if you go back to Little Garden and you look at the flashback at the very end of it, mm-hmm. and you see them, I guess they're docked on. I forget if it was Little Garden proper or like a nearby island or something like that, mm-hmm. where they meet the little girl.
Yeah,
and
she asks.
Yeah. Both their ships are docked there, and if you just look at the panel, like you're just like, okay, well, their ships are docked, and you just go over it. But if you stop and look at what Oda specifically did with the setting, even though they're not drawn in great detail, you can see that the ships are dwarfing mountains that are in on the island proper. And they're not. It's not a hill; those are mountains that they're dwarfing. This is on that scale. Mm-hmm. And I was like, so is this the? Oh God, what were the names of them? I think it was like the Great Ericsson or something like that. And then another that has a Nordic name that I can't pronounce. But basically, I was going through and trying to figure out: is this a new a giant ship or one that we've seen already? And my God. Seeing this thing, and we haven't even technically seen it in quote-unquote action, but no wonder that that Marine warship got wrecked, because all this thing had to do, it didn't even have to fire a single cannon at it. It just had to run through it.
Yeah. Yeah, and hearing you talk about this does remind me that, like, particularly, especially with the Mary, but also with the Sunny, because the Sunny is not that much larger than the Mary. It used to be a thing in One Piece where, like, you would often be astounded by the size of some new ship that was threatening them, where you would really get that sense of scale of, like, oh, here's the Straw Hats ship, and it is just tiny in comparison to this other ship that just showed up. And it's been a long time since Oda has kind of worked with that sort of sense of scale, and of ships being on a vastly different scale, like this. So it is kind of a nice throwback in that sense, because I haven't really felt that in a long time.
Agreed. The only thing that he's really kept up with, and I think this is for the readers and the animators, I believe, is the scale of their ship compared to their new island, where they're heading. It makes for a great depiction of, like, oh wow, this is so exciting and vast and expansive, and that's in there as well. But when they reach a new island, pretty much you're guaranteed a shot of a faraway view of the island with their ship in view somehow. It happens almost every time. I organized them for an article years ago, maybe even 10 years ago. But if you go through the series, you can find in almost every case, in almost every new island or location, there is a scaled to the Mary or scaled to the Sunny panel. But you are correct in that it is extremely rare for him these days to do that ship to ship. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that the Straw Hats aren't really going ship to ship very often. I think the closest thing we would have had in recent years would be the initial approach to Wano, where they fought the part of the Animal Kingdom pirates on their way to Onigashima. But I think maybe that's the closest we've come. I don't know if you have.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's and probably some of that too is just I think that he also, setting up a scene like that of like, oh, here's our ship and oh my God, this new thing is such a huge threat. I think it works better when you think of the Straw Hats as like we're these underdogs, we're just alone, we're adrift in this dangerous place, and Usopp is there trembling at the thought of what could happen next, and of course he's always going to do that, but I think that works for a certain part of the story. But when you're coming out of Wano and it's like, okay, well now he's one of the Yonko, he's one of the 4 most feared pirates in the world. It's harder to convincingly present that sort of that sort of a menace to them, and so I feel like that's probably part of his calculus as well. Is like, well, that sort of mindset doesn't apply as much anymore.
Yeah. Something interesting about Dory and Brogy's designs is, did you ever have, and this is a dumb question, but did you ever have trouble when remembering whether Dory has an axe or Brogy has an axe?
Oh, I don't really. I never really kept their weapons separate in my mind. Okay. For me, it was more like, okay, I just have to remember that Brogy is the round one and Dory is the skinny one with the long beard. Like that's where all of my my mental preparation went.
Are you ready for a thing that you can't unsee?
Okay, what is it?
Look at their beards.
So that's the tip off. That's your mnemonic is
yes,
beard. That's great.
Brogy has an axe beard.
Yeah.
And Dory has a sword beard.
If he didn't give them already the red ogre and the blue ogre nicknames, that would have been pretty good. Because he did that with the elders from the Linlin's flashback, right? There was like the Beard Fall and the Beard Mountain or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
He
could have had the
literally a mountain
and
yeah.
Wouldn't that be great if that was just sort of like
a giant thing?
Yeah, like the fashion style. So like we show up and they just all have different styled beards.
We have a giant that's like really into dogs, and it's just like dog beard.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah, man, that's exciting. I'm really looking forward to Elbaf.
Yeah. I don't even want to open that. We have a lot going on in this episode, so I'm not going to open that can on this episode. But
we can get to it when we get to it.
Yep.
Okay. Well, if that wraps up the chapters themselves, we do have. I think it's just 2 questions really, because I think we answered this other one when we recorded it. All right. Let's go to our Patreon segment on the One Piece Podcast Discord. You can submit your SGS questions on Discord if you are a Patreon subscriber. And we will start with Full Eye Patch, who says, "Hey, Super Gregio Smothers." All right, SGS. Which fan theory would you be surprised to find out isn't true?
Isn't true. I would have to really think on that for a long time to give you a thoughtful answer. But I guess from the hip, one of 2. Which one should I do? Which one should I do? Yeah, okay. Blackbeard Cerberus theory. I'm bored of it by now. I kind of if you don't know what I'm referring to, it's the idea that back on Jaya, when Luffy and Zoro go through the town and they make their way back to the ship, they're like, "Who was that? Who was that?" And they're like, "No, who were they?" And Zoro and Luffy, maybe in their early hockey stages or whatever it was, whatever sixth sense they had at that point,
right.
Seemed to cue them into the fact that the strange but unique individuals they came across in the village were part of a crew, were together.
Yeah.
But that was taken by some Japanese fans to suggest that when he said they, he meant singularly Blackbeard, and that Blackbeard had multiple personalities. And that is why he has the pirate flag with the multiple skulls, and why he can take multiple devil fruits. Sure, I mean maybe that has something to do with his past or whatever, and multiple devil fruits. I mean that's that even meets one of my theories and ideas. But it's just been out there so long, and people are really dedicated to it, and stuff that's out there that Oda has, well, you know what? He hasn't brought attention to it. But I feel like it would be boring if that's what it was revealed. He has multiple personalities. All right.
Well, the question here is, which fan theory would you be surprised to find out isn't true? So,
right.
But you're saying that you would be surprised if that is not the case?
Oh, I would be surprised if it isn't true?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I see. I thought where I thought you were going with that was, the Blackbeard Cerberus, as in like Blackbeard is going to get 3 fruit power. Like that's going to be his final form, when it's like, oh, now we're really up shit creek with Blackbeard, is he's going to get a 3rd fruit, and it's going to be a Zoan, so he has all 3. And
maybe I can rescue that. If I can save it, then yes. I do want him to have 3 powers. That's been a long one for me. But the Cerberus, just in the sense that he has 3 personalities, and that's where it comes from. What fan? What are you excited? I'm not logicking this correctly. What fan theory isn't true? Doesn't come true?
Yeah, like it seems so obvious at this point that how could it not be true? I guess for me, I don't know. I guess the sort of the grand endgame theory that the Grand Line was all constructed in the Void Century, and that like all of those hints and the stuff that people theorize about the way that it came together. I feel like that at this point there's so much evidence for it that I would be kind of shocked if Oda went in a different direction with it. I don't even know if that counts as a fan theory, just because it's been around for so long, and there's so much theorizing about it. But anything else?
I would be shocked if he doesn't get a 3rd devil fruit power, first and foremost. Okay. But then, okay, yeah. Sorry, I'm really having a hard. I don't know if I think about theories that way. And this maybe this is like an autistic thing for me. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm having a hard time like trying to think that way. Interesting. Okay. All right. I'll go with Blackbeard. Yeah. If he doesn't get the 3rd fruit, I will be surprised. I don't like Cerberus.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer. And our other question on Discord, on Discord, is from our good friend Dan from the podcast, who says, "Hey friends, I'm a few episodes behind, so apologies for not keeping up. Apologies also if this has been asked before. I've no doubt Oda Sensei had a gamer period, being the big Toriyama geek that he is, and how influential Dragon Quest was on kids in Japan, and we've seen some of that reflected in his art. Was there a particular game in Japanese either of you looked forward to playing or rushed to play in the native language once you'd gotten a solid grasp on Japanese? If so, which one and why?"
So yeah, Oda didn't just have a gamer phase. Like Oda is a gamer. He loves video games. I think his big one right now is Pokemon Go. Like he's super into Pokemon.
Yeah,
Go.
he's been into that for a while. Yeah.
Yes, he has. I think he recently spoke publicly about it too. Like, what is it? Hyde is the music group, right? I think it's like Teru from Hyde. Like he and Teru like are super into Pokemon Go, and they're constantly going back and forth with I guess trading and whatnot. I don't know how the game works, but he was into. He mentioned in authors' comments about Final Fantasy specifically. Like I really want to play Final Fantasy VIII, but like I got to work on One Piece. Which really shows you how long One Piece has been going.
Yeah, yeah. Literally. Okay, no, it's funny that you say that because when I went to Japan as a high schooler, and that was when I bought the first 3 volumes of One Piece. I brought them home with me, and the timing. I bought a video game or two while I was there, but the timing was such that by the time I got back to the States. The English version of Final Fantasy VIII was going to have been released by the time I got back. And so I was like, that was like a little treat. Like, okay, I have to leave Japan. Oh, but I can play Final Fantasy VIII in English when I get back. So, yeah.
Oh, very fond memories of that. But yeah, so Oda's a big gamer. But back to the root of the question. I did this in reverse. And I don't think I'm in the minority in this either. I purchased my first Japanese video game well before I had any Japanese ability.
Yeah.
And that was Dragon Ball Z Legends for Sega Saturn.
Wow.
Not having very much knowledge of Japanese language and Dragon Ball, that was a crazy experience. Let me tell you. Who is this? Why are they doing this? Why are they I didn't know that Super Saiyan 3 was Goku. When I saw him do the transformation, it blew my freaking mind. Because I was just like, you mean that's Goku? I mean,
wow. Did the Saturn? Did you have to get that modded to play the import game?
Saturn was very lucky. Saturn had an expansion slot in the back. So what you had to do was purchase through like EGM, right? Like Electronic Gaming Monthly, gaming magazine back in the day, GamePro, etc. Used to not GamePro, more EGM and Game Players, had advertisements in the back, and you had to look to them for like modding or conversion cartridges. And basically, you just got a conversion cartridge, you plugged it into the back of your Saturn, and you were good. It allowed you to play foreign games. So I got that and Dragon Ball Z Legends. I think both ordered through mail.
Nice.
Oh my God. I remember the day it came and just turned on, and like instantly I had access to all these things that I'd only seen like blurry pictures of online or like heard names about. And oh my God, it was an amazing experience.
Yeah, it was a very different time back then. My story here is I too, was like, I would buy the magazines every month and like check out, and I was really into JRPGs at the time because there was really nothing else like them. Back in the 90s, that was really the only place to play these really polished and kind of fun fantasy or sci-fi or whatever, these story based and having all of the RPG level elements and all that stuff. And so I would track, okay, what are the games that are coming out, and what are the import games that they're not announcing for English release. And so I settled on for the PlayStation 1 era. For my birthday, this is what I asked for. We took my PS1. Of course, it wasn't until the PS3 that you could use any disc. So PS1 and PS2, you had to alter them somehow. So I took my PS1 to our local our local anime rental store where they just said like, oh yeah, I know a guy, yeah, we'll mod it for you, for a price. And so I dropped it off there, got it back in a week or so, and I had my parents ordered me an import copy of Chocobo's Mysterious Dungeon.
Oh my God.
For the PS1, and I literally, and this was back. I would have had maybe a year or two of Japanese lessons at this point. So I could read hiragana and katakana and some level of kanji, but not very much. And so I remember this is probably my first really big like project to try to figure stuff out. I translated on my own like most of the manual, which is back in the day when they actually sold manuals with games that would tell you how to play it. And yeah, so I only had like a paper dictionary at the time. And there were some things that it definitely couldn't help me with, but I learned a lot about how that stuff worked, and I learned a lot of the classic RPG terminology that you see in the menus a lot, and that was a very vivid experience for sure. Just delving that deeply into something, and the game's okay. It's not amazing, but it was a cool thing that they never released that one. I think by the second one, they were confident enough in the market that they brought that one out in English, but the first one was not.
I remember wanting that game so badly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. It was randomly generated dungeons, right?
Yeah, that's the kind where you go through, you try to reach the bottom, and you just run through a bunch of rooms. And you fight all the classic Final Fantasy monsters. Yeah, and then I think that was really it. I did bring home, one or two other just very random RPGs that I bought at the store in Japan that I don't even remember what their names are. But it wasn't until the PS3 and PSP era that by that point I was working in the industry, so I had money and I could just mail order over the internet these games, and that's when I kind of got back into game importing. I played a lot. I played Final Fantasy 13. That was one of the big PS3 games that I was able to buy early, because even then they still were not day and date in English.
Right.
There was a long gap between Japan and North America. So I did play through. I never beat it, but I got most of the way through it on the Japanese version.
Good on you.
Mm-hmm.
Not the best. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And how about Chocobo? Like, how were you able to go through it? Did you have like a book in one hand when you're going through the story, or like?
Yeah, I remember, because it's different. When you have the manual, you can open up the manual and have a dictionary and just write stuff down at any time. But if you're playing the game, the game has to be on. It has to be just sitting there while you are like staring at it, like, what kanji is this? I can't read this. So it's not really as convenient. I remember having a little more difficulty, figuring out the story scenes, but also there's not very much story in it. It's just a couple dialogues, a couple conversations, and then you kind of let loose to play the game.
So about Dragon Ball Z Legends, that was not very, it's a fighting game. It's a variety of fighting game. It's kind of like a rock, paper, scissors kind of fighting game, but it's a fighting game. So, don't need a lot of story. It's very flashy, and a lot of it is animated. My first story style game was after that. I got a converter for the Super Nintendo, so you could just plug in a cartridge, plug the cartridge into that, and you were good to go for Super Nintendo games. Mm-hmm. There was an easier way to do it that I only found about years down the line, but
was that where you knock the little notch off or whatever? Yeah,
take a pair of pliers and instantly your Super Nintendo is modded. it was another Dragon Ball game. It was oh my god, I don't remember the name, but it's not one of the Butoden, but it was like there were 2 Dragon Ball games that were made that did like the story of Dragon Ball Z. And I knew Dragon Ball Z, so I was like, okay, cool. I want to play this, and I've learned a little bit of Japanese now, so I think I'll be able to get it. Now, Sega Saturn was all voiced, so it didn't matter, but like Super Nintendo, you're not going to get that. So I plugged it in and turned it on, and I swear to God, like a chump, I sat there with a Japanese to English dictionary in my hand and a notepad, and went through every box of dialogue, trying to copy down everything, and then go back into the dictionary and copy down everything from that. And this lasted for a grand total of probably 10 minutes. Until I said, this is impossible. And I just went through the game without listening to anything, and just pushing buttons and things that lit up. So,
yeah, it is funny because even doing that, like there are certain ways that you can just set yourself up for failure. I remember using emulators to play like the old NES Final Fantasy II, because of course they sold 1 in English, but 2 and 3 were not translated for a while until they got re-released on later systems.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I want to play Final Fantasy II. And I'm gonna have my dictionary here. And what I did not realize is that this is actually like super hard mode, because when you start up Final Fantasy II, they do the thing where there's like a screen full of text where it's explaining the background, like, oh, the soldiers of Torumekia are doing blah 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 and this. And I didn't realize, of course, that one, it's told in this like sort of archaic Shakespearean thee and thou type of language, so it's already like way too hard for me to figure out. And 2 is because it's an NES game, they don't use kanji, they only use hiragana, and I'm like, I don't even know where the words start and end. Like, I don't know how to parse these and break them up into different bits of language, and I gave up on that about as fast as you did.
Yeah. Oh my god, the struggle. Oh, it's so much easier.
Yeah.
Walk to school both ways, uphill in the snow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, it's like if you can get if your motivation is not completely on the rocks after something like that, if you still have the passion to try to figure stuff out, that's that those are the learning experiences that will kind of help propel you forward. Yeah. Dan actually has more to his question here. Have either of you gone back to play any of the older One Piece games for what are now considered retro consoles, like the WonderSwan, PlayStation, and of course the Game Boy Color? Are there any standouts or favorites, or were they just outright kusoge?
I'm going to go out on a limb here. Even though I haven't played all, if not many of them, but I'm going to guess they're in that category.
Yeah, they're probably not so great.
Yeah. Boy, PlayStation. Well, PlayStation did have Grand Battle 2, and if I recall correctly, Grand Battle 2 was actually kind of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know there definitely. Or was that PlayStation 2? I don't remember.
Grand Battle 3 was PlayStation 2, and Grand Battle 3 was probably one of the most, especially considering its time, one of the most fun to scale One Piece games.
Cool.
Of all time. Yeah. But 1 and 2 were on PlayStation.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think 2 had a lot of accolades from fans. I think, you know what? Dude might have played it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know Alex he's a big proponent of the Grand Battle series.
Or it might have been Jason. One or the other.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah. I've played. I mean, I have downloaded them, in the past, because they're, even at the time that I started importing games, they were long gone from sales, and I didn't have modded systems. So I started buying. Of course, I was buying all the games that came out on the the PS3 and later because they were easily accessible. But I do remember there's one game in particular that I really enjoyed on, I think it was the Game Boy Advance. It might have been like an Ocean's Dream. They did a couple Ocean's Dream games to tie in with the Ocean's Dream arc, which was where, you know, the amnesia comes into play and they don't remember who each other are. And that's a convenient setup for a game because it allows you to sort of like retrace the story of One Piece as they're remembering it. And so yeah, it was this game on the GBA where it was an action game where, you know, it was like a 3/4 view, so you would kind of move on diagonals, and you would just kind of run around and fight you know, the characters in the story. But it had this really cool game concept, which was like each stage that you would go to would be you would see some character, like, you know, okay, we found Usopp, but Usopp doesn't remember us, and you know, we have to do whatever to make him remember. And so you would collect these ideas or concepts of stuff like, you know, Usopp, and then you would have like Slingshot and Tabasco, or, you know, some like their items, and then you would have to go and combine the right items to unlock, like, oh, this is, you know, this character, or this is this arc, or, you know, some other thing. So, you know, if you were a fan of the series and you knew, you know, what things were associated with each other, you could sort of, it was like a kind of alchemy almost, where you would create all of the little bits and pieces of the story and bring it all together to, you know, to tell the whole backstory of One Piece. And I thought that was a very neat system, but you know, the gameplay itself was just kind of okay.
I remember them putting a lot of effort, at the very least, into the artwork for the games. Because I remember there was the baseball one was pretty crazy. Like they had all the villains at the time decked out in like baseball gear, and how they portrayed all of them was very clever. And then Dragon Dream, which, yes, you're correct, I just looked it up here, was for Game Boy Advance, and that was another one where they put a lot of effort into. I think Oda might have been involved in like contributing to the story, or at least like saying, yes, like I like this, or no, I don't like that. And that had it was pretty grim, wasn't it? I remember something about the dragon or the seahorse was pretty grim. Like it was a pretty dark story. As with many of the One Piece games, like usually story is decent. It's, as always, the gameplay that gums things up. I heard that the story for the recent one, the Dragon Quest Persona one, which I've already forgotten the name of, was quite good in the latter half. But like I don't know, Stephen. Maybe we even talked about it in the SGS before. But like I could not get past Alabasta. Like Alabasta just killed the experience for me. It's a shame.
The most recent game.
Yeah.
I still have not set aside the time to play that one.
I guess you really couldn't go wrong with the Dragon Dream with that kind of endorsement from Steven. And also, I do remember it being a big deal when it was released. I mean, of course, One Piece wasn't big overseas as much, so like it wasn't like hurrah over on this side. But I don't remember people disliking it per se in Japan.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the evolution over time. I think there was one of the more recent issues of the One Piece magazine where it was just like their encyclopedia of here's all the different kinds of merch that have been made for the series, and it included the video games. So you had like the chronology of when they came out, and you can see these very clear sort of eras of like, okay, this was when, you know, they were just churning out these games for the Game Boy Color and the WonderSwan, and then, you know, and then they started doing the Grand Battle stuff, and then at some point they just went whole hog on mobile games, and you know, at that point I think they kind of reached that part where like, oh, if we're making these console games, like these are really expensive, we can only do one of these at a time, and that's kind of where we are now, where you just get one every few years, and they're usually okay at best. But
yeah,
that's the challenge of licensed game, I guess.
And you know what? Maybe I'm thinking of this the wrong way. Like when I think retro gaming system, I'm like giddy Game Boy for me. But I guess at this point, PlayStation 2 is a retro system. So you know what?
Yeah.
I will say that Grand Battle 3 for PlayStation 2 is fantastic. I know it had some other iterations. Like it did so well that like they started to mimic it and copy it and slightly update parts of it. And so like maybe there's an ultimate version that I never played, but just the vanilla Grand Battle 3 was fantastic back when I played it. I don't know how it is now, but it was very much like a Power Stone game, if anybody remembers that.
Right. A little more arena fighting style.
Yeah. Like fan service, not in like hentai fan service, but in like stuff that like hidden reactions, or like this certain character reacts this way. In given situations, like that was all really fun and really well done. So I do recommend it. Yeah.
Right on. Yeah. Well, that's. I think that is pretty much it. We have been talking for a good while here, so. I think we'll wrap it up there. Greg, what can people expect from you? Where can they find you? What do you got coming up?
Look to the west and shout to the skies. Ochimusha 108 on Twitter.
Very good. And you mentioned, you were talking earlier about the column about the ships. Is that out, or is that coming? Or
it just got approved.
Okay,
so
cool.
It's coming. It'll be out next week.
Look forward to that.
Yep.
On one-piece.com.
On Valentine's Day?
Ooh, romantic.
Yeah, maybe on Valentine's Day. So
talk about your favorite ships on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
You can find me now on the now open to the public Blue Sky at stephenpaul.bsky.social. As I mentioned earlier, I've been doing a reread of the series, and every few days I take a picture of something that strikes me as interesting or funny, and I post it on there, so you can kind of follow along in a sense. Follow me there. I gotten a lot of new followers since they opened it up the other day, so that's cool to see, and I hope more people come and join us. But with that, I think we will move on to the next segment.
All right.
This has been the One Piece Podcast, episode 805 for February 12th, 2024. First of all, huge thanks to Henry Thurlow for not only doing an anime recap with us, but also taking down the power scaling community one by one. But seriously, we love you all. Continue power scaling Cracker and Jean Bart. We also had Greg and Steven on for the SGS segment. Please check them. So cut that out, Delaney. Please check them out. Ochimusha108, Aaron Translatosaurus on Twitter, and Steven is also on Blue Sky, as am I. I'm at zach.onepiecepodcast.com on Blue Sky. Sam, where can people find you?
They can find me on Twitter at Lucky Chainsaw, and they can find me on Blue Sky, lcsam.bluesky.social, or however they do it. It's lcsam is my handle usually in most places these days.
Awesome. Thank you, Sam. By the way, I am talking to a blank wall right now because Sam has descended deep into his couch where no one could ever find him again, but yet he has a good microphone and is able to speak normally.
I'm trying to fall asleep.
Thank you, Sam. If you fall asleep, please let me know. Before we round off the show, I also want to mention we have a lot of really, a stacked lineup of guests coming up. Next week, we're going to go through chapter, I think we're up to 1107 with Randy Troy. Then we're going to have Rustage on. Then Sungwon, Pro ZD, you might know him as. Matt Cohen on March 11th. Then Henry Gilbert from Talking Simpsons, and Roger's Base will be on March 25th. That's all I have scheduled right now. I told you everything. All my cards are on the table. I need to book more people for the next few weeks after that. But you could please, if you haven't, follow us at patreon.com/OnePiecePodcast. We now have extended episodes. They're uncut, meaning you hear all the in-between stuff where we talk about images or, in this case, I don't even remember what we talked about between the break. Oh, right, the current holiday in Japan, Foundation Day, which apparently exists. So you could listen to the meaning of that at patreon.com/OnePiecePodcast, plus alternate images by Steve, the full series Forced to Watch 4 Kids, and a lot more. Always worth, and it's ad free, the episodes on there. We also have our sister series, 4 Kids Flashback. Check that out, 4kidsflashback.com. Steve and voice actress Tara Sands interview voice actors, professionals, the president of 4 Kids, and a whole bunch of other folks who were involved in that production in really the first of its kind historical unraveling of why 4 Kids, why, and figuring out the good and bad behind all of their decisions that they made, from Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, One Piece, and all the other miniseries, Fighting Foodons, Funky Cops, all those. And if you join them on Patreon, you could also get access to their Discord server and a lot more. So check them out if you have not. That
does remind me.
Yes, same.
Jill and I should be bringing Reel It In back soon.
I was going to ask, but I didn't want to put you on
live
the spot.
action adaptation or podcast covering live action adaptations of anime. I have one episode, like 90% fully edited. I just need somebody to kick me in the pants to do it. And then
okay, I'll do it right now. Kick. Is that the sound effect that kick makes? I don't think it is. You're still lying down, so obviously that kicked into anything. Yeah, no, Reel It In.
You hit your shins on my couch.
Ow.
Proud of yourself.
Yeah. Reel It In is great. Sam and Jill are some of the best people ever. So if you have not listened to that, wow, most modest people ever too. Please check them out. I'm very excited for the future episodes.
He said it. We didn't say that.
What?
I'm just saying for the record, we did not call ourselves
the
modest.
modesty. You said we are.
We waited for somebody else to say it first.
Yeah. Anyway.
No, I said we were great. I didn't say we were modest.
Oh, that's true.
But you could say it. I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay.
Please check that out at reelitin.maji.media. I'm very excited for Sam and Jill to come back in full force. So, yeah, check all that out. You can check us out at onepiecepodcast.com. We're back on Facebook. I haven't posted anything there yet, but we're at facebook.com/onepiecepodcast. You can follow us there. We're on Twitter, which is what it's still called. We're on Blue Sky, which is now open to the public. Please join us there. Our username is onepiecepodcast.com. I'm going to try and post more exclusive-y stuff there to give people more impetus to go there. And Instagram.com/onepiecepodcast, Tumblr, the rest of them. Or you could call us at our phone number, which is 347-497-MAJI. That phone number again is 347-497-6254, where you could call anytime. Questions, comments, theories, or where on the oh fuck meter Sam ends up. Where do you think, Sam, that you would be on that? Like, what kind of oh fuck would someone give if they saw you? I think Sam officially fell asleep. Anyway, now that I'm here alone on the One Piece podcast, I'll say goodnight, everyone. My name is Zach. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Damn it!